All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X for 2026 New York Mets spring training coverage. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are regularly recorded every Friday, but we've been mixing it around throughout spring training. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 192 of our show. And Frank, you're back. Welcome back. Last week, I know that you weren't feeling the best, but I guess the final rounds of the WBC maybe was comforting to watch, I guess, because that was pretty fun. But we're moving on to baseball season, which is less than a week away.
It definitely was eventful. I mean, you saw Mets versus Mets. I mean, it was seeing Nolan McLean out there, seeing Juan Soto out there, but now everyone's back in the same uniform. They're getting their little dress rehearsal in, the last call, really, making roster decisions on a daily basis. So less than a week away till opening day. I mean, it's go time.
Yeah, I have had like 3 different versions of graphics, I think, with all the cuts that they have been making. So hopefully I'm catched up. But Andrew, you were here for quite a bit over the last 2 weeks in the WBC streams, watch-along streams that we did with Evan and Matt, I believe, who are in the chat as of right now. So shout out to them. They did a phenomenal job during that. But Andrew, you're here. But, connection's here too. This is the first podcast with this connection. So I think I think so, right?
Yeah, I guess it's the streams, the game streams, where the debut. Yeah, again, by the time, hopefully the next time, we're going to be playing baseball, real games. We got the Pirates decided to announce their opening day starter. Shocker, they're going to go with Paul Skeens, so we know who we're facing on opening day.
What?
Shocker. I was hoping to face Seth Hernandez, but, it's a different conversation. But, yeah, again, we're seeing spring training roll down. WBC's over. Everybody's back and happy and where they're supposed to be, at least from the American side. They were so happy to get away from playing for Team USA because that was the biggest chore for them that, God forbid, show a little emotion in a very fantastic tournament that surprise winner, but not really to an extent because Venezuela was a loaded team. There were no Mets on that team, so it's kind of sad. But again, we got some entertaining baseball in March, but that was the appetizer for the last season ever to be played Major League Baseball because we all know we all know what's happening next year. So let's just enjoy the ride and have some fun because baseball is growing, and why would we ever lock out? That's the question.
I don't know. Why would we ever kill that momentum, right? Why would we ever do that? Who knows? Yes, we should ride that lightning. Absolutely. Some of you guys in the chat, Evan, Matt, like I said, said, thanks, guys. It was a pleasure. All eyes on Sunday. That is true. We have a huge announcement coming out on Sunday around 10:30. That'll be out and it is going to be, it's just stay tuned for that. Let's just say that. It's going to be AM. AM.
Is that Eastern time?
10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Yes, Eastern time. So make sure to look out for that. And is definitely going to set up the programming for what is going to be here during the regular season, which is going to be a blast. We are going full throttle this year for Mets Weekly. So it's going to be very, very fun. We've got BBA in the chat saying, what kind of donut are we eating tonight? That was a very popular topic about donuts and cakes during the WBC. Speaking of the WBC, I mean, Frank, like we said, you weren't here for any of those streams. You weren't able to make it. But, I mean, more so of the topic going forward. Obviously, we talked a lot about Team USA and everything that was going on with that team and all the drama and everything and, you know, all the players. I think moving forward with this, there's been obviously talks about this maybe being in the All-Star break. Andrew and I were actually talking about this off stream yesterday, I think, of like some different ideas that they could do with the World Baseball Classic. I mean, I think that obviously that'll probably have to be more in a CBA conversation for next year with the negotiations, but I would love to see it in the All-Star break or some kind of different way of it, similar to what they did in the NHL with the Four Nations, obviously. I feel like that would be a great way for obviously baseball to be displayed a lot more around the world, obviously. And then you also have players more in full swing, which it seems like will kind of release the restrictions of teams saying, oh, you're allowed to play here, and we're not going to just completely hold you back under restraints. And then we could see more talent on display as well, because I think that would be a good idea. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think moving forward, the way to grow the game, we already saw, what was it, like over 10 billion viewers? 10 billion? 10 million. 10 billion.
Some stupid Fox
10 billion
graphic,
viewers. Record-setting. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing that they should possibly try and capitalize on, even though the MLB probably, who knows, maybe they're just sitting here and ignoring us and like, we'll do it our way.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you're saying from a business perspective, because when you have that many viewers, you don't want to do that once every few years. You feel like, oh, well, if we can get a lot of eyeballs, we want to do that every year. I disagree with putting it during the All-Star break. I think the key word to keep in mind is break. These players need a rest in a 162-game season, so they would have to be very creative if they want to do it during the All-Star break. They might have to make it like a one-day thing. If you want to replace the All-Star game to make it more like USA World, or just have a bunch of teams in a tournament format, but maybe shorter games, kind of like they did with the NBA All-Star game. They had the young guys versus the old guys versus World, and there was like a bunch of small games happening on the span of one night. Maybe do a few 3-inning games or something like that in order to see what the best team is. That's something that I'd be intrigued by, but I think overall, to me, it adds a little bit of some kind of incentive to watch baseball in the month of March, as far as something like,
true.
oh, these are like playoff games in March that give you something exciting. To me, it makes spring training feel way shorter, because it's like they put these games in prime time. So like 8 p.m., Fox, you're watching a big baseball game, and the fans going crazy, players going crazy. So for me, I think it's a nice change of pace for spring training. So I like it where it is, but I think if they wanted to make it every year and do it during the All-Star break, I think they would have to change up the All-Star game, because with how it is now, back in my day, as the old guy who saw the All-Star games when they counted for home field advantage for the World Series, it's like, why watch the All-Star game? Because when it comes to baseball, it's very low scoring. It's like, it's not something where you see like flashy plays, because baseball is not really a flashy kind of sport. So I think right now the All-Star game is like, why? Because to me, these were some stacked teams that we saw. I mean, whether you're talking about Venezuela or USA, Dominican Republic, Japan, like they were basically All-Star teams in some of these countries, because, I mean, these are combinations that you don't normally see. You wouldn't normally see like Fernando Tatis and Vlad Jr. on the same team otherwise. Yeah. So I think like some of these like compositions were definitely very, very fascinating. And I really liked it. Whether how much USA cared about it, didn't care about it, who they used, who they didn't use, what rules they have involved, can we challenge, ABS, all those other things, like they'll figure it out eventually. But overall, I thought it was a very enjoyable tournament. I think, Italy was a big surprise. I mean, they showed like a lot of young players who Vinny Pasquantino became like a household name all of a sudden. There you go, Kansas City Royals. So it definitely was a nice moment for a few guys, for sure.
Yeah, obviously. And the reason why I said that of like doing the WBC, because obviously it's a 2-week thing. And I understand why you would like disagree with that, obviously, because a 2-week break in between a 162 game season is a lot. It's definitely a lot to ask. And Andrew, you had this idea that we were talking about this off stream, obviously, with the WBC, where you were like, let's do the qualifying games at during spring training, and then the quarterfinal, semifinal, championship game would be the All-Star break, which I think would be something they could try. Although you do have a bit of a layoff, obviously, in between that, because it will be March to July, so there's definitely a gap there. But I think that you also could add that element too, and this was the idea that I added into it, which I think would be awesome, is the Home Run Derby would have the 8 qualifying teams, one from each of those countries, to represent their country in the home run derby. So obviously, going off of like the 8 teams that qualified for the WBC in the quarterfinal, USA would have Schwarber. Puerto Rico would get probably, I don't even know who they would get. Who are they? I have no clue. Eddie Rosario. Dominican Republic gets Vlad, right? Yeah, exactly. Dominican Republic gets Vlad, Japan, Shohei, like those types of things where it could be an international type of thing. For the home run derby, which is usually regularly not something that is broadcasted that, far, obviously. You don't just have like, a Japanese audience because of Shohei Ohtani. Like, I feel like it could spread a little bit better where you have guys like representing each country that makes it to the qualifying. What do you think about that, Frank? Andrew, you can add on it, obviously. I feel like if you do split it between that makes like sense. The problem is that you're probably going to have maybe no room for like any scrimmage games to re-prep these guys up. But again, they're in mid-season.
They're in mid-season form. Yeah.
I mean, exactly.
To do the derby thing, I mean, if you want to get real gimmicky and fun, I mean, maybe you put your 8 teams at obviously spring training. You do your pool play. Do you 4 games in Puerto Rico and the Dome, and obviously you have Miami and Houston. Those are pool play during spring training, whatever. And we saw it all, at least for Team USA. Once you got the pool play, it was a different roster anyway. So again, you could still, that gap wouldn't change it because we saw what Team USA did with their pitching. As soon as you got out of pool play, it was like 15 different relievers, different pitchers on the team. So that wouldn't matter. If you want to incorporate the home run derby, and let's have some fun, because we heard the report from MLB is the fact that Japan couldn't play USA unless it was in the championship game for some bullshit. So let's get rid of that completely. And let's incorporate the home run derby here. Is whoever wins the derby, whoever, like, you pick a guy from each country, wherever you land, let's say 1 through 8, that's the seeding, and then that becomes the bracket. So you have no, like, well, I'm keeping Japan and you. No. If you want the number 1 seed, US, use Judge, use Schwarber. Obviously, Japan, use Ohtani. Puerto Rico's screwed. DR, pick between Soto or, Tatis or Vladdy. Italy could have Cags, and I fucking think Cags would go nuts in that type of tournament. But again, you're incorporating still the All-Star tournament, while also not, because again, the normal All-Star break's 4 days anyway. If maybe you get 2x, make it 6 days. You have your 8 teams that go in, 2 games a day, get the tournament done, and everybody's back, let's say, on a Wednesday, instead of obviously we come back on a Friday normally for the All-Star break. You come back the Wednesday after, everyone's back to baseball, and the regular season starts. You don't really miss or really have to add any days. Again, if you want to, let's say, you have to play into October, fine. We can make the jokes, everyone makes October, plays in October. But then, again, that's the kind of ideas. But again, these are creativity, these are fun. MLB doesn't do this, so they're just going to be like, keep it in March and nothing's going to change. And hell, maybe they're not even going to send the Olympics. Like, it'll be stuff like that. But again, there's ways to make this tournament better. And again, looking at 4 nations, and I know Evan and Matt began the chat. I think Matt said it. It's like, oh, NHL did it for the Olympics. Baseball, MLB just doesn't give a shit. Where it's like, again, you look at the Canadian, you look at the hockey players. They love this. They love, it doesn't matter. Russia's crying that they're not in this tournament and pissed off that they can't even perform. And again, you can make this not even best on best. We don't have that in the sport of baseball. When it comes here, when every other country loves this. So, and the fact that it's an MLB sanctioned tournament, unlike the NHL with the Olympics, with the IHF, whatever the hell the stupid idiot rules that we have for the Olympics, this is an MLB branded tournament, meaning this is a USA sanctioned tournament. So if, let's say, and we've seen Scooble already say it, I think if we see some more stars say, we'll move this to June, if it's going to help Team USA, they're going to probably do what's best to try to help Team USA win this thing.
Yeah. And then that's the one thing that I think that it's more of seen as a conflict of interest, or it's something that probably improves on the side of either teams of them being a little bit more evened out. Obviously, Frank, I'll go to you on this. It probably does play into maybe helping out an advantage for Team PR, who was not allowed to get that many of their players to play. Obviously, Correa was still obviously nursing an injury. They didn't want to have him there. Lindor was obviously, not signed in for it. And then we had Javi Baez get suspended for marijuana. So there was a lot of things that went on, obviously, on that PR team. And maybe they would be at a little bit more full strength with like it being mid-season if they were to qualify. And they did. To be honest, I was impressed with PR being able to do what they were able to do. And what was it? They got to the quarterfinals, lost to Italy. So it was impressive. I thought they were 2-2 and going to be out of that pool play. But they were able to buckle down. They did a lot more than I thought they would. So it was impressive, but they would be at full strength with a lot less restraints from MLB teams with some of these players. So I feel like that probably does balance it out. However, there is some disadvantages to it too, of the layover between the top 8 and pool play.
I think MLB would be a little cautious still, even more so when it's mid-season,
Sure.
because if someone were to suffer like a minor to moderate injury that requires you to miss maybe 2 to 3 months, it's a lot easier to recover when that injury happens in March compared to in late July, because now you're talking about maybe trying to get back in rhythm when the playoffs already start. So I could
True.
see teams, especially if they're like in a really tight division race, or just some of these guys are so important. Like, but look at what the Padres do with Mason Miller. They're like, unless it's a save situation, to not use him for the championship game. I could see a lot of teams, like if you're Puerto Rico, like the Dodgers being like, oh, we don't want Diaz to pitch this much, or some other teams want to be really careful. So I think that it's still going to be interesting, like we said, how all those things work out, because even some of the teams like Puerto Rico, for example, not all of those guys are like signed to MLB contracts. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing too. With some of these other countries that don't have quite as many like full MLB lineups, like a team like Japan, they have a lot of them, not all of them. It would be kind of interesting how they work that into it. Like Aaron said, if it's going to be an MLB branded kind of tournament. So there definitely is like some things they have to figure out. But overall, it would add more excitement to the All-Star Weekend. It would give you more of a reason to watch, because like I said, I mean, this is something that happens only every few years, and I think it's something that people probably want to see a little more often than that.
Yeah, possibly. And if you do have like those little snippets of it, like we said, before this season starts and then at the All-Star break, they'll be able to do it a little bit more in a flow fashion. And like you said, with the injuries, I think it's always just going to have that type of risk. I personally I think that I would be a little bit less concerned about injury in mid-season form, because they're a lot more conditioned to that point. When you get into spring training, I mean, we know this better than anyone with Mets players. These guys get off the plane and they tear something, like just automatically. So we've seen that happen so much that like these mid-season things, obviously you'll always have that concern. Guys will get hurt. Even that guy from Italy got hurt, Kyle Teal, that kid from Rockies. Plays for the Rockies, right?
White Sox.
White Sox.
White Sox?
Yeah.
White Sox. Who's the guy in the Rockies I'm thinking of that was on Team Italy then? I have no clue. Name a player on the Rockies. Yeah, we'll be here forever. But anyways, just one more thing to add on to this conversation. We'll move on to actual Mets baseball, because I know everybody wants to talk about Mets baseball, because we are very, very close to it. Flag baseball? I think that would be pretty cool, right? He says BBA is saying, what about flag baseball? No bats or bases. You just use a football. Like you tag each other with footballs with gloves, maybe something like that. That would be great.
MLB players playing wiffle ball. That's what I want to see. Imagine Skeens with a blitz ball.
That would be cool. That would be very, very cool in opposition to what the NFL does with the Pro Bowl, playing like laser tag or whatever. Like get that out of here. Get that fucking out of here. But either way, I think there's plenty of things that they can look at, but I think, making baseball more international, even though it's an American sport and it should only be in America. I think, again, promoting it worldwide is something that they need to look out for, and they need to do a better job at promoting the game. I think they do better now than they did 5 years ago, but they need to continue for it to get better, obviously, because it's better for the sport, and the WBC is. And like what you said, Frank, it's every 3 years. WBC baking competition. Andrew can be the judge, maybe. I don't know. Possibly. Something. Either way, enough of the WBC. We did enough coverage of that. had 7 different streams. You can go check them out. They're all like 4 hours long. We went nuts about it. Anyways, we also had a compilation that dropped last night. So if you want funny moments of that entire series there, or that entire World Baseball Classic run for Team USA, we were popping jokes, making comments, great commentary. Again, great play-by-play by Matt. Great comments by everybody else in the chat as well. It was great to chat with you guys. And like we said, big announcement coming out on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Standard.
Okay.
Graphic time.
Yeah. Anyways, on to the New York Mets. And I want to start, obviously, with one of the biggest topics. And I think there's a big topic, obviously, with concern for a guy like Sean Manaea. And then obviously on the offensive side, we have a concern about Mark Vientos, which a lot of people have been talking about. Mark Vientos, we're going to push to the side because we already know the deal with him at this point. We already know what the situation is already. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about it when we recap spring training in the next episode, which is going to likely be on short podcast rest because opening day is I'm pretty sure the next
Thursday.
Friday. So either way, I want to get into Sean Manaea because there has been a lot of discussions about him. Obviously, we all know about his injury history last season after a phenomenal 2024 season. However, what has been very, very noticeable for him has been a huge velocity drop. And it's not the fact that we are seeing a velocity drop in spring training. We are seeing a velocity drop from a velocity drop last year. And that's the main reason as to why there is a huge concern around Sean Manaea, who, again, is slated to be likely your 3rd or 4th starter in this rotation. $22 million a year. He's still signed through 2027. So what has been going on with Sean Manaea has been quite a noticeable thing, obviously. He's made 3 starts this spring, and in comparison to 2024, 2025, there has been a dip in velocity, not only on his four-seam, but also on his sweeper and his changeup, which is usually what happens with repeatable motion. As for his four-seam, 92.2 miles an hour in 2024, 91.7 miles an hour in 2025, obviously injury-riddled season. Then you get into spring training in 2026, 88.6 miles an hour, which is what he is averaging. Not what it's at its lowest, at what he is averaging. Sweeper, obviously, also going down. Changeup, also going down. Stuff plus grades, not as different. The shape is pretty much the same there. However, we always have that concern, of course, with his health. And like I said, the spring game logs that he had, first start was okay. Second was not the best. Did not command the strike zone that well. And then his most latest was 4 scoreless innings, 4 strikeouts on 52 pitches. Now, what we got from Sean Manaea, and this is from the last 2 starts, he has doubled down on this, saying that it's about his velocity drop, saying that it's low, but I feel good. I'm not concerned about it whatsoever. When we get up to Citi Field, get some adrenaline going, it'll shoot back up. The only problem that I have with this, and Andrew, we touched on this a little bit, obviously, last week as well, and I already said that if we do see this noticeable velocity drop, we were going to talk about it again in the next episode. The only concern that we have here is, like we said, it's a velocity drop from the velocity drop last year. But also you bring in this factor of the fact that he was not healthy last year. So it's not like you can just say, well, what's happening here? He'll get back into it. He's not in full swing. No, he's coming back from trying to be healthy again. And he can say he feels good all he wants. If you're throwing 88, 89 miles an hour, 87 miles an hour, there's only so much that you can do from that certain vantage point. And I understand that the results were great in his last start, and I'm sure that's going to swing the boat completely from Mets fans and saying, well, he's fine because the results were great in that spring start. Awesome. But Andrew, it's more of the fact of this is now over a calendar year now where we have had injury concerns, velocity concerns, not as much of effectiveness. And this has all come since he signed a 3-year, $75 million contract to come back to the Mets after a great 2024 season. So the Mets, I think Mets fans have every right to be concerned about a velocity drop with Sean Manaea, considering the effectiveness and the condition of his health.
Yeah, you went into this season. Obviously, we saw we feel confident about the top of the rotation with the top two, and I believe in Clay Holmes being a solid 3. You had the question marks going into the bottom half of that rotation, and the fact that one of the guy we wanted to ship out of here for a box of donuts it's been the guy who's outperformed and has gotten better to what he was, and the guy we felt somewhat confident in the fact of he can be a solid 4 and we expect consistency, is the one that we're having the bigger concern about in Manaea. The velocity thing is a big thing, and I know I can already hear all the old guys, well, did you see Eduardo Rodriguez versus Team USA? He's not throwing hard, velocity doesn't matter. Like, no, it does. And the fact that now he's, again, like you said, it's a velocity drop to an original stark velocity drop, and his excuse is, well, once we get, it's meaningful games, it'll get back up. You hope that, and then even if he gets back to what he was last year, that's a drop from what he was in 2024. So you're getting back to a problem. You're no longer dangerous. You're just cautiously dangerous. And it keeps going back to the fact that this guy did not get the surgery in the offseason. And it is going to continue to be a big thing of just, if you would have got the surgery, there would have been no concern and questioning, at least from fans, and he's going to be bugged by this by the media, is if he would have just got the surgery, and maybe the velocity goes up, but at least it's not, he doesn't have a built-in excuse. And what we say all the time, we hate guys giving excuses because a certain guy made a very big Mets career based on of excuses. Now he has that built-in excuse of like, well, if I get my surgery, I can get back to. Yes, the money is what it is, but also if you look around the market, that's what 4s and 5s get paid nowadays. So in a grand scheme of things, it's not killing, but you look at this of potentially you have more young pitching talent coming. He's going to be given the first opportunity, like I said, because he's making the money that he is. And the fact that he's already guaranteed a spot. And here's my thing. Like, I understand, like, okay, he believes he can get the velocity up. I was waiting for the notification that he's having, like, shoulder stiffness or something. Or make a phantom IL, because I can't trust this guy. And we've seen it again last year. It came down to one game, not making the playoffs. I want this guy down in extended spring training. Because I need to see the velocity get up, and I'd rather want to see the velocity get up in meaningless games down in Florida than, you're pitching against the Cardinals in St. Louis and against a bare-bones, god-awful lineup, and he gives up 7 runs because he's throwing, 88-mile-an-hour cookies down the middle. And, like, so I was hoping, especially when the fact that we heard that Tobias Myers was guaranteed to make this roster, where I was thinking, okay, worst case, you go first couple times through the rotation, Myers is your 5, you've got obviously your big 4, and Manaea can go down when shoulder stiffness or whatever, go down, get the extended spring training, and get the velocity up, then call him back up, and you're risking... you're risking sort of punting games to say, you know what, Sean, maybe you get your velocity up, where you have the opportunity to have him get the velocity up in meaningless games down in extended spring training and not hurting the big league club. But again, they're going with the risk, and we'll see how he does, because again, if the results are good, no one's going to care about it. But again, there is still that ticking time bomb of that shoulder or elbow, whatever it is, elbow that it could blow on a random Tuesday, and then he's done irrelevant. He's done anyway. So it's concerning, but again, I like the built-in pitching depth that we've had, and obviously we know there's more coming. So it's not going to kill you if he's hurt, but I just don't like the risk factor of, hey, this guy has not showed anything in spring, where it's like to give you the confidence of like, just a little adrenaline's getting up, and we saw what adrenaline did to Nolan McLean hitting 99 into the 5th inning. So there's a difference between Nolan McLean and Sean Manaea, but adrenaline for a guy like that, even if he's getting back to 90, it's not pretty. And again, you have the ability to just say, hey, you're injured, spend 2 weeks getting that velocity up before in meaningless games to get into the big ones.
The thing is that I don't know if he is injured or we're just looking at an arm that maybe is damaged beyond repair because of the adjustments that he ended up making. Obviously, we know about him lowering the arm angle. We talked about that before, obviously. And it seemed like it was somewhat of a... It was healthy to sustainable the way that he was doing it in 2024. But from one of the reports that we were getting, the new pitching coach, Justin Willard, of him emphasizing that lower arm angle of going from 24 degrees down to 18 in 2025 was what really, really hurt him. And obviously we all know about the history of Jeremy Hefter murdering pitchers. We don't even need to get into that. And if you don't think so, I got an entire spreadsheet to show you. The whole thing about Sean Manaea is I think out of the three of us, I was the one who had hope that he was going to be able to find a median between 2024 and 2025. And I thought that he would be a decent middle rotation piece to this lineup because I thought the swing and miss stuff was still there. He was still throwing strikes. He wasn't walking that many batters in 2025, even though he was definitely getting hit hard in that way. But I even said this on Twitter, and Frank, I'll go to you on this. I said this on Twitter. I said, when I said I had hope for Sean Manaea, I didn't mean throw 87 to 88 mile an hour fastballs. And like I said, for somebody who, such as myself, was confident that Sean Manaea could bounce back, of course, when I say that, I'm obviously saying that he's just completely awful now, and everyone will tell me, oh, well, look at the results, 4 scoreless innings, go fuck yourself. So it comes to a point of process over results in spring training. And when you look at 88 to 89 mile an hour fastballs, struggling to hit 90, and then you get a quote that he's doubling down saying that I need adrenaline for 92, 93, yikes. Really, yikes. Because again, if you look at the shape of his pitches from the different release height that he has and the overall shape, you need 92 to 93 for it to be an above average pitch. And the problem with this is he does have another lack of offerings as well. He has a sweeper, he has a changeup, he doesn't really throw anything else, maybe a cutter mixed in there, maybe a occasional sinker, but I don't think he uses that anymore. So it's really a weird tightrope, and like Andrew just said of that surgery he didn't get, it's something that's floating over our head right now. Like, we still have that thought of, well, he didn't get this surgery. He didn't get this surgery, and it was made public that he had loose bodies in his elbow before he even came back from that rehab last year.
It's definitely going to be something very close to follow. I mean, the thing that concerns me more is, like you mentioned, he's under contract through 2027. So he's a guy that he's 34 right now. Do we think that his fastball velo is going to go up when he turns 35? Not necessarily. I am concerned as well because this is a guy who made a drastic change to the kind of pitcher he is at an older age. So you talk about the different arm angle, trying to, be more like Chris Sale. But the other thing that happened too was his pitch usage. I mean, that's also something that has changed over time. And this past season, he only threw that changeup 6% of the time, and 61% was the 14 fastball. And it's just hard to project seeing a guy throw an 88 mile an hour fastball. If you throw that 60% of the time and don't have that many other pitches mixed with it, it's just very hard to predict that there's going to be a lot of success. So that's something that you have got to be very just mindful of because, I mean, let's not forget what just happened last offseason with one of the other starting pitchers that we signed to a multi-year deal who we said, you know what, this guy is so bad, we'll pay you to go home and we don't even want you to pitch for us anymore. You don't want Manaea to get to that level too. But at the same time, you have got to make the best choice for your decision. Like Andrew mentioned, you're one game away from making the playoffs. how far a team would have went, different story. But it's like every game is crucial in the 162. People want to say, oh, it's a long season, it's 162, you'll be fine. But sometimes you just never know. I mean, a lot of things can happen in that 162 to where some games that you thought didn't matter, well, it does matter. And like Andrew also mentioned, I don't want to be figuring it out during the season. Maybe one start we get one pitch at 90 miles an hour, like, oh, here we go. It's going to turn around soon. But I think overall, even with already a fastball velo drop, he struggled last season. And then for that to drop even more, again, I just don't see success happening. And when you're constructing the roster and you're making decisions, you're telling me Tobias Myers is already on this roster. Well, you look at who the starting pitchers are. You got Nolan and Freddie at the top, no doubt about it. Healthy Senga has to be in this rotation. David Pearson was an all-star last year. Clay Holmes showed us something. If you want to say you have Manaea in there too, I mean, that's 6 right there. And then maybe Tobias Myers is long reliever. So, again, we talk about like roster construction. What is the best fits for this team? Is Sean Manaea more of a reliever? Like, I feel like that's something they really have got to ask themselves.
That's an expensive reliever.
It's an expensive reliever, but it's also like, are you trying to get some kind of value? You're trying to figure out how do we get him through the season? I mean, you have to just kind of make the most out of it because that's something they experimented with last season. He did some starts. He did, he had a little bit of an opener. Like, they tried a few different things with him, and that's how it's been his whole career. He's been someone that has bounced between the rotation and the bullpen. It's happened with other teams before the Mets. So he's just someone that has always been very tricky to like project and figure out what you're going to get out of him. He's had so many ups and downs in his career, and it feels like this just could be another example of it. So if you are going to become an 88-mile-an-hour pitcher, if that's who you are now, there needs to be some other adjustments made with it. I don't know if that's necessarily arm slot again, but you can't just be throwing 60% of 88-mile-an-hour fastballs. It's just
that's the only way that you would be
effective
with 88 miles an hour. That's the thing. That's the only thing you would be effective with 88 miles an hour from a certain arm slot, such as like a guy like Brooks Raley or something like that. Like he's very obvious. He's very effective, but he's more of a spin rate guy and an overall pronator. But the thing is that with Manaea, again, I think that the main concern that we have about this, obviously, is the fact that not only is this a velo drop, obviously, and like we said, it's a velo drop from a velo drop. It's the fact that you have so much committed to him in these next 2 seasons that's picking up a decent chunk of your rotation. You also have some young guys that you do want to give some leeway to as well. And I feel like we're going to a point where this is going to be up in the air so much that, maybe we do see Sean Manaea completely go back to his, velocity being that 92, 93, which makes his fastball a well above average pitch. And they obviously talked about more of the changeup usage this year, which is something that I think he's going to incorporate more. Hopefully it's a lot more of something that he can build onto. I feel like last year he was definitely rushed into a certain scenario where he didn't really want to overall utilize everything, and they were just kind of trying to use him in spurts of being like, well, he was good for us last year, so maybe he can give us a little bit of a push in the pitching department. Maybe we get a few innings out of him, and we piece together these other innings in long relief, obviously. So the thing is that I don't know how to feel about this right now, but I'd say that it's so concerning to see velo obviously drop from a guy who emphasized velo so much coming into his Mets tenure, obviously, going into 2024. We know his whole thing with Driveline, obviously. They talked about a little bit more hip rotation and adding velocity and a little bit more of that conditioning, either whether it was in his shoulder or overall upper body. So there were so many different things that kind of went to it that there still seems to be a lot more changes that continue to happen, and you don't know how he's going to adapt to that. Like we said, 34-year-old season now, going to be 35, still getting paid by the Mets. It just seems like we really have gone to this certain capacity here where obviously this 2024 version of him does not seem like it's very obtainable. And then you also have this other point where at the end of that 2024 season, ever since he was open and honest and saying, my arm feels dead after that postseason run. And obviously he was not good in that, that game 6 where they got eliminated by the Dodgers. He wasn't as effective. But when you hear things like that, where you feel like maybe this has been completely torn to shreds here, that's very, very concerning, because it seems like he has not gotten back on that sort of height there where he can be an effective starting pitcher. And to be honest, I feel like you still get pulled back in with this whole thing because he still has this swing and miss stuff. Like, he still was registering a good amount of strikeouts in those spring training performances, even with him throwing 88 to 89 miles an hour with his fastball and all of his velocity going down, and maybe a little bit of a tick in overall stuff quality, because velocity is an added bonus. You keep getting completely pulled into it, but can this be a starter? It kind of has to be, because you're paying him $22 million a year. Can this be a starting pitcher where his stuff lasts out after 3 innings? We didn't see that last year. We definitely didn't. So, again, it's a very sensitive situation that going into to opening day right now, obviously going in with the 6-man rotation, it's probably the best. Having Tobias Myers probably helps out as well, too. But that long stretch of the season, I'm not trying to go from, making accommodations to Kodai Senga to making accommodations to Sean Manaea, because he's not giving us the value that we paid for. And that's the main concern that I really have about this. I still believe that there still is a quality middle rotation starter in there. I don't believe that there still is the insane ace he was since that time he changed the arm angle and wanted to be like Chris Sale. I don't believe that. Never believed that. Always thought that he was a mid-rotation guy at best who can give you strikeouts and contact manage, go deep into games because he can get on a roll. However, we haven't seen that in this overall calendar year since the end of 2024, where he was one of our most dependable starters. And ever since then, the big injury, was not on the field for a long time, comes back. What was it, out of the bullpen? Looked good. He's looked good for the first few innings, but like a $22 million opener, whether you are the Mets or not and you can afford it, that's scary. It's still scary to think about. And I don't know how I do feel about that, because it also gives us the object of, the whole situation with last year, where we were running long relievers or relievers that can go 2 innings into the ground. And I don't want to do that again. I just don't want to do that. We saw what happened with Max Kranick. We saw what happened with Huskar Brazaban, who was the other. We had Budo for a second. Budo was pretty much losing his mental capacity as well. That was a whole different story. But it's concerning. It really is concerning, because this rotation still needs to, flow. This rotation still needs to flow to a certain point where these innings are being eaten up a little bit more evenly in comparison to last year, because that was one of their biggest downfalls. And Sean Manaea being a part of that is very, very concerning. Tony's saying here in the chat, saying we can always hope he can turn into Bartolo Colon. Bartolo Colon could at least hit 90. So I know Bartolo Colon didn't throw that hard, but he could hit at least 90. And we all know that he knew how to command the zone and go deep into games and eat innings, which Sean Manaea wasn't doing. So there's a lot of concerning factors to this, with a velocity drop, with a regression and stuff that he obviously worked on and reinvented. His age, his health, there's just so many things to keep your eye on that right now everyone is holding their breath. 4 scoreless innings in his latest spring start means absolutely nothing to me. It's just one of those things that, I mean, this is concerning. Very, very concerning. Because, again, like I said, 92, 93, well plus pitch on his fastball. 87, 89, that ain't going to last. Because that'll be effective for what, 2 innings? And that's going to put us in the same predicament we were last year. If there's anything you guys want to add about this, because obviously the rotation is going to be a point of emphasis, like we said, in comparison to last year. We know that they brought pretty much everybody back except Frankie Montas, just threw his ass in the dumpster because he was horrible. But adding in Freddie Peralta, we know the whole situation with him, but it's more of those things where, yes, they do have depth, of course, but you do need these veteran guys to step up. You can't just say, well, all of these young guys are going to come in here and be the savior. This is not Harvey, Syndergaard, Wheeler. This is not that era anymore. Pitchers are developed a lot different now. So it's just, we do need him to step up in the back end of that rotation to keep things to flow for the workload of the bullpen and the rest of the rotation. And throwing 88 miles an hour, I don't see that holding up well. So he better be right that he's sitting 92 in his season debut, or we're going to have an issue really, really fast.
Yeah, I mean, you have Nolan McLean for the full season this time around. Hopefully, he stays healthy the full season, but you don't have him until very late in the year last year, and he's going to be at the top of this rotation between Nolan and Freddie, so that's always nice to have. You have Christian Scott as AAA depth this time around. You didn't have that for last year, so they have a couple of things going in their favor, that they do have some options, that they're not totally banking on Manaea. Manaea is not make or break for this team, but it would be a great boost if they, like you said, not necessarily 2024 version, but definitely better than 25. I mean, if they could, like I said, somewhere in the middle to be that number 3 or number 4, maybe even number 5 starter, that would be something that would help them, because at the end of the day, when it's 162, it's about getting through the innings. I mean, you just have to find a way to get through them. Like I said, they had way too many injuries, and not just injuries, but season-ending injuries. Way too many Tommy John surgeries, just way too many things going wrong with all these relievers because of the overusage. I mean, we saw such a lack of volume from so many starting pitchers. And when you look at Manaea this past season, innings 1 to 3, 4.15 ERA, but innings 4 to 6 jumps up to 8.71. So he wasn't great altogether at any point, but it just felt like the more he pitched, the worse he got. So he was a prime example of why the bullpen got so overworked, because he was not able to work deep into games last season. They might even have to consider something that if it's that, to get to that level again, they might have to combo him and Tobias Myers. Since Myers is going to be on this team anyway, if you have them work together to make a start, again, it's like you just have to try to find a way to get through it. You're, at this point, like the idea of, oh, this guy was great for us in the playoffs, now we're going to give him over $20 million a year for multiple years, that guy's gone. Like they have to accept that is not going to happen. So you have to try to find other ways to still be productive, to still win ball games. Like they have to work with what they have at this point.
Yeah, it's more about being creative, and like we said, from Tobias Myers, he has that really, really high arm angle, and I don't even know how the hell he commands the zone so well with that high arm angle, but he's able to do it, and he's really, really good with it as a long reliever. I don't know about him being a starter, but he could be a spot starter with, rain delays, such shit like that. We already know that Citi Field's not going to get a roof anytime soon. So anyways, with all of that, in regards to the rotation, like we said, you could try and get creative with that low slot with Manaea from the left side, and then try to throw guys off with that high slot from Tobias Myers. The only problem is that you're asking for a lot. You're going to be asking for a lot of your bullpen in overall regard when you have a starter who struggles to go deep into games because they can't maintain their stuff in a certain way. And it's definitely concerning in that way. The thing is that with Manaea, it's one of those things that pulls you right back in, where you know that, like, okay, strikeouts were up in comparison to 2024. The walks were down as well. He was attacking batters. However, his stuff just wasn't that great anymore. You had a velocity drop. You also saw a little bit of a lack of his arsenal being used as well. So it's like, there's just this push and pull about him right now, and a lot of uncertainty right now as to where he's probably the biggest question mark in comparison to a guy such as, Kodai Senga, who we talked about. We don't know what the hell we're going to get from him either. He's looked really, really sharp this spring. He's looked really, really good. Velocity is back up. He's commanding the strike zone a lot better. He's attacking hitters as well. He doesn't seem very bitchy and whiny, as we have seen over these last 2 years. But hey,
cold next week.
It is going to be cold. You never know. I don't know, but bring your ventilators. But it's just one of those things with the types of things you have to go through with pitchers, and that added headache of what you're seeing right now with Sean Manaea, who's in a predicament of his health, his overall stuff maintaining. It's just not a fun situation to be in, and it's really, really rough to just overall say, well, we're going to get the guy from 2024. I just don't think you're going to. And it sucks that you won't, because I still think that there's shades of that guy in there. Like I said, good strikeout stuff still. The control is still there overall. But with all the stuff that's been going on since he signed that contract, putting it all together has been a very, very hard task for him. So either way, we will keep an eye on this, obviously. We'll see what the situation is. Maybe he is right and we all look like a bunch of idiots throughout when he makes his next start next week. I believe maybe he starts game 2 against the Pirates. I'm not sure how that lines up. It all really just is about, again, it's not going to be who's your best pitcher who's going to go out there. But I'm just saying it's like who lines up, obviously, since their last spring's training start and who had a decent amount of rest. Maybe he pitches game 2, maybe he pitches game 3, maybe he's the 4th game of the season. I don't know. But when he does go out there, we're going to take a close look at what the velocity looks like, because, again, like I said, the shape of his pitches, his overall stuff, it's still there. Like, it's still there. It's not like he's lost effectiveness. He lost an inch of rise. He lost an inch of induced vertical break. Like, he's the same, like, the same type of stuff is there. It's a little added bonus of velocity that he needs to maintain that stuff and go deep into games like we need a dependable starter to do. And when we saw that not happen last year, it was definitely a detriment to this team. He was one of the factors as to why this team missed the playoffs. There was plenty of factors. But Manaea, you can point out, we can put him in the top 5. We definitely could. Him and Senga, they belong on that same island. There's plenty of other reasons as to why, but Senga, Manaea not being dependable starters for the downstretch of the season was definitely a big detriment to this team, and probably makes you impressed that they got all the way to game 162 still in contention. But I'm not going to give credit to that team because they were all a bunch of losers. So anyways, anything else you guys want to add on this rotation or anything? We're going to talk about it plenty during the season, obviously. We know that there's a lot of moving parts. Who knows who lasts? Who knows who's still here? I don't know, because we've already seen David Stearns make plenty of changes mid-season, so you just never know what the story is going to be. Sometimes we expect one thing and we see another thing. Like we said, that's baseball. Anyways, speaking of more baseball, there was a lot of youth on display for this team yesterday. It was at 7 o'clock. The Mets took on the Rays prospects, and we saw a showcase of this young talent in the Mets farm system, which has been highly regarded recently, that has been building up a lot recently with the drafting, the scouting, the developing. They talked about it on the broadcast. They're like, they really feel like they've made strides with the hitting development, which is something that we have seen over the past few years with a lot of our old draft picks up here, really struggling to find consistency with that, and also the certain players that they were drafting as well. So we got to see a decent showcase of that. I wouldn't say that it was the best performance overall from our prospects. They lost 2-0 to the Rays prospects, so obviously season's over, right? But anyways, we did see a good display of pitching. We saw some guys that we haven't really seen that much of, or were in the lower levels that we heard some really great things about. So overall, here is the overall recap of this spring breakout game against the Rays prospects. Like we said, overall, the line 2 runs, 4 hits, 2 errors for the Rays prospects, 0 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for the Mets prospects. Again, it was a showcase. It had nothing to do with what the score was, but they keep score because that's how it goes on with baseball. Either way, individual performances. Let's get into that. The pitchers, Jack Wenninger, who we have seen a decent amount of during spring training, and he's definitely impressed. The ability to go multiple innings, obviously, and he's being stretched out to be a starter. Former 6th-round pick by the Mets. He went 3 2/3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 65 pitches. Then you had Nicholas Carreno, I think, came into the game, actually was a left-handed pitcher, a young prospect, 17-year-old prospect that the Mets acquired in exchange for Josh Walker at the trade deadline in 2024. Anybody remember that name? He didn't do well. Threw 9 pitches, all of them were out of the strike zone, walked 2 batters, walked the bases loaded, almost hit like 2 guys. It was a mess. He's 18 years old, so I think we're going to cut him some slack there. You had Oriana. I said this dude's name incorrectly last time. Andrew, do you know how to say this guy's name again? I have no idea. It's
Oriana.
Douglas Oriana. Douglas Oriana. Okay. He finished up the inning, got them out of the jam on 2 pitches. Then you had Jonathan Santucci, 2nd-round pick 2 years ago. He impressed. Had a little bit of trouble with his command of that last inning there, but 3 2/3 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts on 49 pitches. We also had Haas Brewer, who was somebody that the Mets picked up as a minor league signing and really, really impressed in the lower levels as well. You also had Ben Simon, who was actually in the World Baseball Classic for Team Israel, pitched a scoreless inning, gave up a hit, 1 strikeout on 13 pitches. As for the offense, A.J. Ewing continuing to impress. He got a hit. We also saw Ilian Pena, one of the main focuses of this game, finally coming over from the Dominican Republic after signing a very, very rich signing bonus. Obviously, it was like $6.5 million. And there's obviously some really, really high hopes for this kid. And we saw some poise from him in this game as well. Got a single, took some really, really good swings. Very disciplined bat. Jacob Reimer continues to have yet another great throughout this entire spring. He's been on showcase. Ryan Clifford 0 for 2 with a walk. Eli Serrano, a single. Another guy who they are very, very high on, and hopefully he makes a little bit more of a step in the right direction, maybe grows into his body a little bit, displays a little bit more of the power that they were expecting. You had Chris Suaro, who is a utility catcher. He was catching behind the dish. He had a few decent at-bats, but he went 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Mitch Voigt played. He got a walk. 0 for 1 with a walk. You had Nick Morabito, another prospect as well. He was with Team Italy during the World Baseball Classic, so he comes in. And then you also had Randy Guzman. I think this is Randy Guzman. Believe, right? Yes, Randy Guzman. He was the DH. He batted 9th. He was 2 for 4, double and a single. And he was yet another minor league find for them. You also had some other guys come on the bench. Guys you could probably point out, 3rd-round pick Antonio Jimenez. Last year, he was out there. You also had Marco Vargas, one of the pieces that the Mets acquired in the David Robertson trade a few years ago. He was on display as well. You had some of the other organizational guys go out there. We obviously didn't see it completely at full strength. Carson Benj did not play in this game. We did not see Ryan Lambert. We did not see any other like top prospects such as Will Watson, or we didn't see who's the other guy I'm thinking of? There's some other guys that I'm not. Zach Thornton. We didn't see him, even though he got a spring start as well. So you're really, really starting to see a little bit of this talent on display of where the direction that they are obviously going in this. Obviously, they lost, and it's time to blow up this entire farm system. But, Frank, I'll go to you first, obviously. This is always exciting to see the young talent and it's always exciting to see, what this team has on display. And a lot of these young players who, especially in this organization, the new wave of talent and the new, types of players that David Stearns likes and the types of players that David Stearns drafts. You're really, really starting to see a little bit more of, dimensions of ball players here, and not just guys who are very either one-dimensional or very suboptimal, such as some of the guys we have in the majors right now. And I think that that's very, very important when you're talking about building a team and not just building an offense of, well, this guy can give you home runs and that's it. So I think that there's definitely a view of the direction that they are going in, of the types of players that they are drafting and developing. And it really does show. It's like, well, we're developing guys who can do the little things correctly, which, again, in this organization for probably 60 years now has been a problem. Really has been a problem, and is the main reason as to why they couldn't maintain sustainability. And how you do that is building a farm and building an organization that displays that and shows it by example. So I think that they've done a really good job so far. And, this game was, again, another display of that, of how this farm system has grown.
It definitely has grown. I mean, you're seeing guys from all different aspects when it comes to player development. You're seeing guys who are draft picks that may have been early in the draft, could have been later in the draft, international, via trade. I mean, when you're talking about something like Ryan Clifford. So there's definitely a lot of different areas that they have continued to improve year over year in their farm system. Outfield, infield, pitching. I mean, they have a lot of different things going for them. And like you mentioned, some of these guys who are versatile in what they could bring, particularly someone like AJ Ewing from the top of the lineup, who is someone that we've seen show nice glimpses and flashes all throughout spring training. And we've seen him make, obviously, plays at the plate, getting some hits. We've seen him running. We've seen him out in the field, in the outfield, making things happen. Just having a player that has multiple tools is something that we are not accustomed to when it comes to the Mets farm system on the hitting department. When it comes to guys who play the field, a lot of times they're just kind of hitters and maybe a little bit of power, and that's about it. So to see some of the other guys, Carson Bench didn't even play in this game, and he's the best one of them all, and I'm sure we'll talk about him later because he's a big storyline. So there's just a lot of different young talent to be excited of. Like Nolan McLean is their top young pitcher. We didn't see him in this game, but we saw someone like Santucci coming later in the game from the left side, getting a few strikeouts. So like there's just so many different players that you could just be excited about and just look forward to seeing when they get to the Mets on a full-time basis. So I think it's just a testament to how this team has improved greatly year over year. It's something that was not a strength of theirs a few years ago, but as time has gone on, they definitely have improved. And that's even with trading somebody like Brandon Sproat this off season, they still continue to be one of the better farm systems. So I definitely think that's a credit to Stearns and this whole new regime. They've got a lot of new guys in that front office, and it looks like it's working out the way they are identifying talent, the guys they're selecting, and I hope it pays off because there definitely are some things to be excited about with some of these guys.
I mean, when one guy you draft, doesn't work out, sometimes you're in a bend, and that's kind of what they were going off of a lot in the past. But when you have a bunch of these guys who have showed out, if two of them hit or one of them hit, it's seen as a success because you just never know who's going to be successful. Not every prospect's going to pan out. Not everybody that's listed here is going to pan out. But when you have a conglomerate of talent, a lot of these guys who have shown already strides and have had so many breakout years. Last year was a phenomenal year for our farm system, obviously. Andrew, I'll go to you. Before I do, though, Jonathan Santucci, let me just give a little bit of a rundown here. He topped 97 with his fastball, sat 94, 95, on display, almost 20 inches of induced vertical break on his fastball. And also he was graded out as a 110 stuff plus. You also had his slider, which he used the most at 37.5%, another plus pitch. And then he also showed a little bit of his curveball as well, which he actually throws a lot harder than the usual left-handed pitcher. at 83.1 miles an hour. And then he also had a plus changeup on display as well. Can basically throw the kitchen sink. Someone who you can maybe see as a potential volume arm from the left side. Who knows? But Andrew, I'll go to you. Obviously, you talked about, Ilian Pena last time when we talked about, guys getting featured. I mean, 3 quality ABs is what I saw from him. Three plate appearances that he looked like a professional hitter at 18 years old. 18. Like, I mean, this is someone that you're like, okay, maybe we do know why they gave him such a big signing bonus and why they're so high on him going forward. I mean, that's a special talent right there that you could possibly see move up the ranks of the minor leagues, and as he continues to develop, who knows what he can turn into.
I mean, yeah, an 18-year-old, first time playing on U.S. soil, obviously, with a spotlight. Obviously, he's played in minor league camps and down in spring trainings this year. But first time he's actually seeing a national appearance, in-game nationally. And for an 18-year-old, like you said, 3 ABs, comfortability, 100 mile an hour single, pulled fastball, inner half, pulled easily. He flew out the first time, and a quality walk, again, to show in the eye. We'll see what the defense, everyone keeps saying he's going to play short now. Maybe he ends up at third. But we've seen this, and this is what Stearns, especially with Stearns' previous organization, these, international signings, could this be the next Jesus Mate, where it's like, you don't know who the hell this kid is, and then a year from now, he's the top prospect and overall, not just in system, but overall in the game. Where you see these guys where you see the talent. And we have another one in Wandy. I don't even ask me to say that name. I don't know. Wandy, who we got from in this past IFA period. Don't even try it. We'll get it eventually. But you're seeing
Wandy the A.
The A, exactly. Wandy A. But we've seen what's at least Stearns internationally, which is the difference between the past regimes where they wanted to go the quantity of getting multiple guys at $1 million. We've seen Stearns in his first 2 IFA periods top and then top again the highest paid international players, obviously Elion and now Wandy A. So we're seeing an adjustment of not just taking, I can get 6 guys for $6 million. No, I'm going to get the best guy possible, and then again we could have a few lottery tickets like the guy Gomez hitting, or not Gomez. It was the guy hit 9th, Gomez, right? Who hit 9th in the game? Guzman. Like, this was a power, and they got him for the I think 50K international signing, and he's like got a ton of raw power. So you take that. Again, like, you have that ability when you're going at top market in the IFA part. You have to find those type of guys. So, again, Pena looked good. We'll see. Again, he's probably going to, especially how aggressive the Mets have been with prospects. I wouldn't be surprised if he just straight up starts in Port St. Lucie. That they're discussing maybe playing in the Florida complex. I think he just starts straight in St. Lucie because this is what the Mets have done with their prospects, is just test them right away. So I would expect him in Port St. Lucie, which is great because we've seen, again, with Benj and now and AJ and guys before him, if you hit and you're moving up fast now with Stearns, and they're going to continue to push you up forward until you see that first kind of struggle. And if that was Benj AAA, which now we'll see, we'll get to him later. But again, it's him. Obviously, Jacob Reimer and Clifford are bigger names we've seen in spring training. Purdue, Serrano, who I think hit the hardest ball, and I think 103 at anybody, which again isn't a present great, but again you'll see. But again, Chris Suero, who again we've seen in spring training pop off. So it's like it's a depth of players where you have your top end guys, when you have your upside with obviously Benj and Pena, and we'll see what happens with Wandy A. But then you're seeing just quality in the middle of the system, where in previous regime it was you just had quality up top, and it was just a death graveyard after you get past 7. Where at least now you're seeing depth of it. Like, again, not everybody's gonna be a star, but at least you're at a point where it's like, okay, this can be major league guys, and in worst case, they're trade chips. And you've seen, and especially, and I say this all the time with the Dodgers system, the Dodgers prospects are not as good as they have the public likeness because they're Dodger prospects. The Mets are getting closer and closer to that, where it could be, they're just Dodger prospects, so teams are going to like them more than truly who they are. Because the Dodgers have not been developing anybody, but we hear all the time, Dalton Rushing's going to be great. I like Dalton Rushing. He's nothing. Now you're seeing the same hope for guys like Zaire Hope and Nosebleed Apollo. It's the team you play for. When you get the narrative that you have a good developed farm system, teams will want your guys. And the Mets are getting closer and closer to that. So when you want to make big trades, you're not giving up your 1s and 2s because you have the general opinion and the mass opinion of, they have depth, so maybe it's And how Frank always yells about, like, oh, this team only gave up this, this, and this. Well, the Mets have to give up this. We can see now, and we're getting to the point where we could be making trades for, if it's the guy in Detroit, if it's, the Army, guy in Pittsburgh, down the line. You're going to have to give top-end talent, yes. But, you could see our other fan bases being like, oh, why'd the Mets only give up their 4, 5, and 6? And we were offering their 1s and 2s because you're seeing just the depth in the system. And, again, not everybody's going to hit because, again, nobody hits 1,000. But can you hit 500? Every one out of every other? Possible. We're seeing the development, at least throughout the system, winning 2 championships and 2 levels, which, again, doesn't really matter in the grand scheme, but you like seeing it. So AA and single A.
That's the hardware I want.
That's exactly. And Binghamton's giving out their ring, I think, first week of the season. So go get your Binghamton rings. But, yeah, so you're seeing just an overall production, and, again, not just internal, but you're seeing it nationally where, again, AJ Ewing getting top 50, top prospect thing. And we already, how much you want to bet by the end of the year, Chris Swear will be a top 100 prospect by most publications. And we'll see if Mitch Voigt, again, which again, we didn't see much. Again, Mitch Voigt only played 20 games in Port St. Lucie. But again, maybe he pops off. And again, you'll see the branding of these national publications maybe be a little blindness to say, hey, the Mets now are hitting a little bit. What's this guy? What's the question mark? And again, once that gets into the masses, would make, well, not just the benefit for developing in the roster for us, but again, when you want to go make those big trades, you're not giving up every single piece in the goddamn kitchen. You can give them a frying pan and you keep, your saucepan, that type of thing.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing of, like we said, where you have plenty of guys who have popped off at the minor league level that maybe aren't as high regarded prospects. Maybe they're helium prospects, guys who, maybe their stock becomes high. When you have multiple guys like that, they still can be allocated to your roster no matter what without even playing for you. Like we said, they can be in trades and you can, move them at their highest value. A guy that comes to mind, obviously it did not work out on our end. Jesus Baez was somebody that they traded who was in their top 10, had a huge breakout year, was a big helium guy, was not high regarded, very low signing bonus when he signed international for this team, and was hitting the ball hard, displaying power, could steal bases. He gets hurt after, after he was traded to the Cardinals, right? And then he gets surgery.
He tore his Achilles with the Mets, and then he has him in the same.
He hurt himself with the Mets, but wasn't he taken out of a game when he was traded for? Well, that's
Helsley? When officially, like most teams, they took him out during the trade. Yeah, that was just because the trade went through.
But I thought he never came back. He had some other injury too.
I know. All I know is he tore his Achilles with the Mets.
Did he come back?
And obviously beforehand, like you said, the healing was happening. He has not had the exit velocity since he's torn his Achilles. So again, the Mets took advantage of selling high on a guy, and yes, the Cardinals like him, and he's in their Cardinals top 10, yes. But he has not reached EVs at least have not returned since pre-Achilles. So again, it's an Achilles injury. It takes a long time to heal. But again, this is a type of thing where everyone's losing their shit. Oh my God, we traded Jesus Baez, and now we got 6 Jesus Baez's at home.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It's one of those things where the next guy up, obviously in that system, and like we said, not even just struggles at that helium that a guy like Jesus Baez had. Even with that, it was all obviously running out because he did not really do well with the Cardinals system last year. It was a below average bat, and that was in high A level. So again, it's just one of those things where you can sell some of these guys off as, potential guys because of the year they just had. And when you have multiple guys, such as, guys who are your 23rd ranked prospect and they had a huge breakout year and they're not highly regarded, you can sell them off as pieces that could be highly regarded to other organizations that are stupid, take advantage of stupid organizations. That's basically what we're trying to say. Lie, cheat, steal. That's what we're saying. Kids, always do that. Anyways. Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Anyways,
find the
back
6
to the prospects.
Find the 6 dumb GMs and call them all the time. That's what you need to do.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Take advantage of players, people like him.
And listen, the Mets have been lying. Like we said at the White Sox, they told Luis Angel Acun's a switch hitter. Just lie.
Yeah.
You know what? And then you get Luis Robert.
again, and people still don't like Stearns. Still don't like him.
Wait,
He's
now
lying.
wait. Now
Yeah.
Frank about sports likes Luis Robert. Somebody's turning heel real quick.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, Carlos
couldn't
Mendoza
trade
said
Vientos
he
for
leads
him,
the
though.
league in spring. Was it batting practice home runs? Is that what he said?
Elite batting practice taker.
If you're elite at batting practice, then you have to go in the actual
It's
game.
like Buck Showalter. Darren Ruff is batting 750 on the backfields. Yeah, exactly. Again, we're gonna still continue to see this thing grow, but it had to grow from the bottom up, and we all knew what seriously, that's an innuendo to you, really?
Well, I mean, I
Are you
can't make a
free?
face. Well, mentally, yes.
Okay, sure. Anyways, the spring training game. That spring breakout game, obviously, like we said, one more thing that I do want to add, obviously. For those of you who are kind of worried about not seeing this certain prospect or whatever, when a lot of these guys were listed out, most of them are made available, and then the other are not playing in that game. It's all really just about who these guys are, featured, and there's like a player pool that they pick from of guys that they make available. So when you didn't see guys like Will Watson, and you saw, you didn't see guys like Will Watson, you didn't see guys like Zach Thornton, you didn't see guys
Ross,
like that.
Yeah, another guy wasn't.
Yeah, Dylan Ross, you didn't see guys like that. They're still there, okay, but they just put them on the available roster for that certain game. And like we said, it is going to likely progress. Andrew, we were talking about this, where maybe they try to do like some kind of like tournament with the prospects or something during spring training. Like there was like some thoughts about that. So maybe you see more players get more display or more exposure, where it's like, I don't know, like it's not a round robin tour, like a best of 8 or like a best of something.
It would be a
graphic.
It would be a March Madness, March Madness type draft where it's single elimination. Everybody's play like a 2 to 3 weekend series where Friday you do the Florida side, Saturday you do the Arizona side, and then the winner of each side will have a championship game on Sunday to notify that you're the greatest prospects ever. Yada yada yada. Everybody go gets cupcake.
Exactly. Okay. So yeah, exactly. So again, They showed, what was it? I don't know how many players they used in that game overall, the Mets, but there was about like 60 that were possibly available for them to use, but they only made a few of them available. So again, it's not like they don't highly regard some of these guys, but some of these guys weren't available to play. Peter Cuso, who was their 4th round pick last year, who they're very, very high on, is in their top 30. He is actually going to be missing the entire season with shoulder surgery. He's obviously 18 years old, so there's plenty of time. Obviously, prerequisite for pitchers to get some kind of arm surgery. That's basically just how that goes. And, there's plenty of guys. Camden Lohman was another one that was not put on display at all for that game either. There are plenty of guys who did not pitch. So again, it just comes to show that even not at full strength or even not with the big guys, you still see a lot of talent on display. Even though it was not good enough, they lost and the season is over. They didn't score a single run and they look pathetic and they should be ashamed of themselves. But either way, as for everything else with, overall performance and everything, I think we all know where we're going with this, and we can go off of the spring breakout game, or we can also go off of, just overall major league spring training games as well. Let's go to studs and duds. One player this week that played pretty well, you want to give a shout out to, one guy who looks like crap in the dog days of spring training, where we're all just ready and antsy to get to baseball and opening day. Andrew, I'll go to you. You going prospect, you going major leaguer, you going, I don't know, you going
Alligator.
WBC? I guess that's still relevant. I don't know.
I think hell is going to freeze over with who I'm about to pick, but you know what? Sometimes you have to open your eyes. Kodai Senga's look pretty damn good. And, like, again, do I think it's real? No. But, again, he's healthy. He's not crying about the weather. He's out here pitching solidly and throwing 99. So you know what? I will be nice. I will not make fun of you for 2 weeks. I will give you at least, a mulligan start. But then, as soon as it's back together, there's going to be some jokes made, and, we're going to trade him back to, the Tigers or the Seattle Mariners or somebody. But again, as of right now, he's had a great spring. He's looked great. And the Mets need him again. He could be an X factor where, again, you could have a top 3 of a rotation. Holmes goes back to being your 4, and you have a really good damn rotation in the 5th spot. Who really cares? You could have a Care Bear pitching in the 5th spot. You have at least a good 1 through 4 to, build off. And that's a playoff rotation. And you could maybe use, Clay Holmes. And if, God forbid, this team were to make the playoffs, you could turn Clay Holmes into a swingman once you get to that postseason. So, you know what? Kodai, good job. I will not make fun of you for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, one thing that we can, count on, we don't have any more of the throws from the first baseman that could put him in danger and almost kill him, which he's done multiple times with multiple different pitchers, but it only resulted in one injury. So, again, I only broke, a waiter saying, "Oh, I only broke 3 bowls today." Yeah, there you go. There's a sticker. Anyways, Frank, it's been a while since you've done this. Stud for this week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it necessarily happened in the last 7 days, but I mean, I gotta give my props when I see it. And when I saw Francisco Alvarez go dead center field, just absolute bomb, you knew I had to talk about it. I mean, I'm still thinking about it. And when he had to get taken out of the game early due to injury, man, I was nervous, but he's all right. We just got to be careful with him, and I like it. Be as careful with him as you need to be. I will personally go over there and make sure that he is all right, because you want to talk about X factors. I mean, no matter what, this guy is always just a sight to behold. I mean, you don't see a lot of catchers just going, it doesn't matter who competition is, dead center, just absolutely annihilating it. Like, that is not something that a lot of catchers do. And he's had a great spring so far overall offensively. I know they kind of started him out a little slow. They didn't want to, overdo with him, want to be careful. But, I mean, he's played really well when he's been out there. And it's something that I really would love to see it transfer to the regular season, because we just keep seeing, flashes of it. You see glimpses of it throughout his career. I mean, we saw a little bit of it last year at certain points. But to just see him get healthy for a full season and just put that talent on a more consistent basis, then you can finally see, just got finished talking about, spring breakout, what a top prospect can be. This guy was one of the top prospects in baseball, and because he still has talent, he still has ability, but just having that consistency, that is what I just finally want to say. I hope that this year is the year. New hitting coach, Eric Chavez, it would just be another reason to just throw a donut at him and be like, this is all your fault. That'd be great. Yeah.
Frank,
throw a pancake at him.
Throw a pancake, chancla. I think Frank has topped the BWJ glaze that I had. I think he's got it. He's got that topped. If you watch the stream,
yeah. I mean, listen, we all know how great he could be. I feel like we're getting very, very close to a point where, with Francisco Alvarez, where we're gonna have to start putting out the difference between the idea of him being good and him actually being good. Because, to be honest, from what we're seeing constantly, the injury scares and the lack of consistency, listen, I believe that he can be really, really good. However, there still are things where really, really frustrate me about him, because of how, with him being a catcher and continuing to get banged up like this as young as he is, it's concerning to me, especially when you're like, oh, well, we can't move him to first base if he gets hurt older on because he's 5'2". So he's built like a mini fridge. So again, it's one of those things where I'm like, I know he can be good, but I also think that the idea of him being good can also trump the idea of him actually being good, because of the lack of consistency, like we have said. And Andrew, I don't know if this is how you feel about him, but I feel about him as well with me. It's like, we do need to see a big year out of him, or, if it is next year, or I just feel like it's just going to become this yearly thing of this giant fucking cock tease. That's literally what I feel like Francisco Alvarez has become. Like, show me a full season of this. Like, I want to see it so bad because we know how good of a hitter he could be, and on the other side of the ball, he's such a hard worker that I need this guy to be really, really good, and we know that he can be an X factor for this team because a middle of the order catcher is something that you don't see, and that's the thing. Like, if that makes sense, let me just say that for my stud, I'm going to go to the other Francisco because. How the hell is this guy? How the hell did they put this guy in the line? Again, I made a TikTok about this. I don't know if anybody saw it, but how the hell is he back? I have absolutely no idea. We said that, what was it, like a 6 to 8 week recovery period, and now this guy is already gripping the bat, playing at full strength. Study this guy's pain tolerance because it could help modern medicine. How is this guy in the lineup already at full swing? I mean, it's just, he wants to go out there and play for you. That's literally what he wants. He wants to play for fans that have given him so much shit for 6 years that I don't understand why there is continued to be, I mean, to be honest, I do understand it, but I don't get why it's such a prevalent topic so much when you see a guy who will go out there, ham-ate bone or not, and he'll play for you no matter what. And also, we've seen him take a lot of swings from the right side, which is going to be the main thing that is going to affect him because of it being in his left hand. And we all know that injury came from him sitting his palm on like the knob of the bat, and that kind of just wearing down a lot. So we've seen him get some really, really good swings. Even before he started playing, he had some good swings against AJ Minter in live batting practice. So, and he also didn't even play that bad as well going back into spring training action. It looks like he's going to be ready for opening day. I expect to struggle. I definitely do, because he is going to be recovering from that, obviously. Maybe you'll see like a few weeks where, you know, we see an April Lindor like we have been seeing for years now. Nothing new. But, you know, it's just one of those things of him leading by example. No matter what, he wants to play. He wants to go out there. And you can really, really tell how much of a toll it took on him that he couldn't play in the WBC. I think we all know how much playing for Team Puerto Rico means to Francisco Lindor, and the fact that he wasn't able to play for them because of something else, that he had like a previous procedure, and then he also has an injury on top of it where he's sitting out and not playing, which he loves to do, which durability is something that is why he is so valuable. I mean, that is one thing that I really, really admire about Francisco Lindor, is the overall pain tolerance and the overall drive to be out there for your team no matter what. And that's the difference between, in my opinion, winning players and losing players. Because I know that Francisco Lindor, no matter what, if he struggles, he is not going to say, well, my hand hurts. He's going to hold himself accountable. That's what he's going to do, because that's what leaders do. He leads by example. There's been things that we haven't liked, obviously. But again, for what we just saw this week, I'm not trying to say, oh, he's Superman or whatever, but the fact that he was able to play and goes out there, 2 weeks ahead of schedule with quite a decent amount of games until opening day in spring is very impressive to me. And that's why I'm going to put him in the stud category, because it's spring training. These games don't count. We can call other guys studs, like Gary Apple as well, who I thought caught a decent game, to be honest. What was it, today or 2 days ago or whatever? I thought he was a lot better. I think when he was doing play-by-play like a few years ago, it was a little spotty, but now I think he's gotten a lot better at it. Steve Gelbs, on to duds. So, Andrew, I'll swing it right back to you. There's been a few rough performances here and a few guys who are of notice right now that you can point out. What direction do you want to go in?
I mean, I could do the basic one, or I'll do the one that hurts Frank the most, and I think I'm gonna do that one. Gotta let Frank have the default one. Craig Kimbrell. I mean, appreciate you signing for me in spring training. That was part of the goals of getting that Hall of Famer, so I appreciate it. Love the card.
Was it a Braves card?
Yeah,
like
it was
Minter?
a Braves card. You like Minter. Got me a gold, and it's even better. It's the Rookie of the Year Braves card. That 2011 peak Kimbrell. Besides the point. Brother, it's time to learn dominoes, brother. Go flip some pizzas. Go hang out with your kids if you've got kids, your wife. It's time to go cowboy up out of the sunshine because, oh, he's throwing a cutter now. Oh, he's trying to throw a changeup now. Just like Sean Manaea, bro's throwing 92. And if coming out of the bullpen, throwing 92 is like me trying to get a salad in my mouth. It's just not going to happen. It ain't going to be any good. You're going to move on. So appreciate you've had a historic career. Maybe you catch on to a bottom feeder team, and maybe they'll give you a ninth inning. Have fun pitching in maybe a Colorado or go pitch somewhere else. If you still want to play, which again I respect. The guy still wants to go out and compete because he has every right to a Hall of Fame career to just go home and retire. But the fact he still wants to play, I appreciate it. You've been a great player, but it's time, brother. Clock's ticking. Insert the rabbit.
I mean, him hitting 92, 93, obviously, he was always someone who was in the high 90s for his career. But the fact that has going 92, 93 with no command is the main reason as to why this is a problem. The only thing about Craig Kimbrell is that he's still in the running to make this roster right now. So, and he didn't exercise his opt-out. So if he doesn't make it, he's going to start in AAA, maybe, I think. Maybe there's a granted release he can get. I have no clue how that works out.
Yeah, or he's just on the opening day roster and he's the first guy to get DFA, which is probably the more likely scenario. He's on the roster for opening day. Okay. Just how David Stearns has always said, the bullpen that you have on opening day cannot be different than day two. So he's going to get the first shot. You DFA him, then you go to Austin Warren, or then you go to figure it out. Hopefully by the time, potentially in May, Ryan Lambert or Dylan Ross is ready to go, they take that spot. But for right now, he's probably getting the first shot, then probably Austin Warren, and then hopefully the kids down the line.
Yeah. NG saying, who's going to be our vital bullpen unk who does literally nothing without Kimbrell? I don't know. Maybe it'll be Luis Garcia because he's up there. He's a very old man. He's 39 or whatever. Cute. But yeah, I don't know. Is he bilingual? I don't know.
Who? Kimbrell?
No.
I was about
Luis
to say
Garcia.
Yes, I would think I thought you'd say Kimbrell's bilingual. Like what? This guy thinks Kimbrell.
Oh my god. Yeah. God. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's like that. Is Kimbrell bilingual? Yeah.
Well, the way you said English? I mean, because you're like, oh, is Kimbrell like?
Does Kimbrell speak English? That's like going up to me and saying, oh, how do colorblind people read? Okay, so, anyways, Frank, do you want to continue with that sentiment on Kimbrell, or do you want to add somebody else in the dud category?
I mean, there are some obvious guys, but I'll stay in the bullpen, though. I'm going to go to Brian Hudson, who pitched today. He had a rough outing. He is in the running for the bullpen as well. He throws left-handed, so that automatically gives you a shot to make the team. But overall, just not a good performance. Giving up the 3 runs, couple of walks. There was a home run mixed in there. I mean, as a reliever, as we know, the 2 things you can't do, give up home runs, and you can't walk batters. And he did both of those in this outing. Giving him a 16 ERA for spring training, not a great audition to make the team. Feels like we might just be going the lone left-hander again with Brooks Raley. You
throw
gotta,
I mean, until you get Minter.
Yeah, you throw Minter in there when he's ready. I mean, we don't know if he'll be ready opening day. I mean, Richard Lovelady. I mean, come on, enough with that already. It's really out of hand.
How does he keep getting back here?
That's what I'm saying. It's so ridiculous. Like, it's not. I mean, to me, it's like I don't even consider him a factor. It's just like nonsense to call up and DFA. It's nuts. So for me, it's like I feel like it's probably still just gonna be Rayleigh in there because. For Hudson, this was a rough outing. I mean, he's 6'8", like that's cool, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get people out.
Doesn't make him Trevor McGill.
No, it does not.
Yeah. As for my dud here, as I fix my mouse, which has been a pain in the ass all day. Okay, yeah. I don't know how Richard Lovelady keeps on getting back here. I don't know. Maybe there's like a tunnel underneath our clubhouse that he just keeps on getting back. I have absolutely no idea. And he's a familiar face for Stearns, which how many times have we DFA'd this guy? I have absolutely no idea.
6 or something at least?
6 or 7, 6 or 7. I don't know, but who knows? I haven't bagged on this guy in a while, but he looked like crap this week. David Peterson, dear God, what was that? Listen, I am very excited for David Peterson's final year with this team. And the main reason as to why is because of something that me and Andrew have talked about so many times, of this bulldog hefty lefty thing, of these guys who in their free agent year either pop off or they show a lot and they get very overpaid on the market by a stupid team that needs pitching. I'm excited to see that happen with David Peterson, because I think, externally, it's a little underwhelming to see the type of pitcher that he is, even though he's a decent ground ball pitcher and he is a major league pitcher. But, I'm excited to see him get paid by the Angels. I really am very, very excited. But overall, for what we saw from that performance, he was all over the place. Couldn't miss bats for shit. Hanging things all over the place. Obviously, it's a spring start. Who knows? But he is going to be in that rotation. So we'll see. Other than that, I think before then, he's actually been okay. Like, he hasn't been that bad. However, it's just one of those overall tendencies with him. We all know where he can lose the strike zone and, he can allow a lot of base runners. And when he doesn't have sizzling hot defense behind him, he starts to falter a little bit. Maybe he needs, maybe he can be a great Lindor, Simeon, Robert, up the middle triangle merchant. However, we'll see where that obviously takes him. Again, I'm excited to let this go because I'm excited for the next wave of pitchers. And I think that, again, still underwhelming and inconsistent for a guy who was supposed to be a first-round talent, like I have said. But overall, the value he gave you was not bad. And to be honest, after seeing what pitchers have got on this market, he's going to get a decent amount. I just hope it's not from the Mets. Don't extend him. Please don't. At all. Extend Freddie Peralta. That's what I want you to do. Either way, anybody else you guys want to mention, give a shout out to, say hi to, maybe, give a peace sign, maybe virtual high five to them, maybe a virtual middle finger if you don't like them.
Well,
right. Because all spring we've had some really, really good performances too. Like we've said, AJ Ewing has been really good. Carson Benj, another one. It looks like it's all but certain that are almost confirmed that he's going to be on the opening day roster, which is huge. It's awesome. I can't wait to see what this kid can do at the major league level. See him sink or swim. That would be awesome. It doesn't look like they're taking advantage of the service time. They're going full Cheeto Bear and putting him in there, getting rid of the that service time, and he might be starting here opening day, and we'll see what happens in that. But this final roster is starting to shape up in these last few days of spring training, so it's been very, very impressive. Frank, one last thing I'll go to, because we've obviously talked about a lot and you haven't been able to talk about it because it's been very, very public. Everyone's been talking about it all spring. Mark Vientos has been a disaster. Not good before the WBC, not good in the WBC, not good after. It has just been very, very, I don't even know what to talk, like very, I don't know, grimacing, just like apathetic to watch him take his ABs. He has been still hitting the ball hard, which is true. But the swing decisions are still not there. The chasing's still not there. And the overall value, the defense, the base running, everything, he doesn't give it to you. So it's either he hits or he doesn't. He's out of major league options. It's go time. Short leash here. Short leash. Like 2024 is long over.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting. I mean, because with him making the team, and like we've said before, if the bat is struggling, well, what does he bring, especially on a bench role, is that like if his bat isn't doing well, like we say, not bring him into running, not bring him into field, if he's not hitting, like what is it that he's doing? So that's the thing that's just really frustrating. He's right-handed, he's not even a switch hitter like someone like Mauricio is. And I do just wonder, like, just how this bench is going to be. Like, if you say that Carson Bench is making the team, and maybe Mike Tauchman too, you think that Tyrone Taylor is making the team, right?
Yes.
And then there's a question mark about like, is Vidal Brujan making this team? And I just feel like I don't want us to find ourselves in that position again of like, why are you here? Like what? Like how often are we actually going to use you? Is something to really think about with somebody like Brujan, because they're like, oh well, you know what? At least the Mets have a true backup shortstop if they have Vidal, but. Like Carson said, I mean, Lindor is a machine. Like, this guy plays through basically everything. So, how often...
And I don't want him doing that. Like, I want him to take, like, maybe one day off with this surgery he had. Yeah.
Which, again, it's like, I understand Bo is not a great defender, but for a game...
Bo can go over there.
Games,
Beatty goes to third.
And he did make a start at shortstop.
He's doing it lately, but it's like, can he do it for like a few games? Like, I think that's allowed. I think it's worth having another.
Polanco could too. He's played shortstop for.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be.
They're all shortstops.
It'd be rough, but he can do it. So even Beatty in like an emergency, I'm sure he could do it for like a game. Like, it's not pretty.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
He's played second base. He's played third base. Like it would be for one game. It would be fine. So I just think overall, like, there's no need to have Brujan because his speed is not what it used to be. Tyrone Taylor's a way better baseman than him. So it's like if you take him off the roster, I just do wonder like who's the DH. I feel like something we've talked about before, but it's like if you say Bench is in right field and maybe Polanco's at first base. Well, I mean, who's the opening day DH? I mean, that's what I'm really looking at because Mauricio's in AAA. Is it Vientos? Like, wow. I mean, that is rough considering the season he had, the spring training he had. To still be in the opening day lineup would be interesting.
I would say it's Tauchman.
Tauchman's opening day DH? I mean,
I think I don't think that would be bad.
Like, if you're doing, you could do matchup dependent, so you're facing Paul Skeens. Like, do you want Vientos out there against that? Do you want to have another lefty bat out there? Like, you could make it matchup dependent. I mean, maybe because the first day of the season and you're not resting guys yet, could be Beatty. Like, you just want to get him in the lineup and then move him to a utility role as the season progresses. Like, there's a lot of different avenues they can go, but I feel like other than if you have him starting at DH, well, what else would you have him do? You know what I mean? Like, where else is he really going to play? Because Bo's going to be third. So, I mean, you have Brett at third next before Vientos. So it's like, if you're a third string third baseman and I don't know what string first baseman, it's like, well, what are you doing?
Mauricio. I mean, he does have one extra base hit, Tauchman against Paul Skeens. Whoop-de-doo. I know that Brett Beatty doesn't have a hit against Paul Skeens. What a loser.
A lot of people don't.
You know who does?
Jeff McNeil. Multiple homers.
How are we going to beat him? We don't have the Skeens stopper now.
I mean, again, if we're talking opening day, I would think probably Beatty's at first, Polo's probably the DH. That's my guess would be. I would
possibly.
Which is interesting because it's like no matter what, you have out of position first baseman either way. So
it's
that's another thing too.
As Ron Washington says, it's
and I still think it's better. And I still think it's a better defensive upgrade from what they had. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But again, it's all really just about what the matchups are. But this could be a good lineup. Could be a meh lineup. Who knows? And we'll see what those final spots are because I would love for Tauchman to be on this opening day roster. I really would. But I do also want to see Carson Bench up here. So if they were to bring up, no, you didn't see it. You didn't see it. Erase it.
Wait a minute. And in the compilation, you hyped him up, dude. Is Carson a closeted Beatty defender now?
You have no subtlety, do you? Okay.
No.
The one thing is that with how you construct this roster, and like we said, Tauchman, Taylor, that would be lefty righty. Of course, you'd have Bench here. It would make the bench a lot better. And I do agree that Vidal Brujan should not be on this opening roster. Again, Ronnie needs to start off in AAA, and it looks like he is starting off in AAA. He cannot be the backup infielder. I don't want to see that whatsoever. Young player like that needs to play every day. Same thing goes for Beatty. Even if I like him or not, he needs to play every day to get that consistency, and he's probably going to likely be a part-time player, which we'll see how that bodes well for him. And then, Mark Vientos on your bench just clogs up the roster. no matter what. It's just roster clog, no matter what. Bench off the bat, that's Talkman to me. That's Talkman. Like the bench bat or whatever, that's Talkman. You have a 4-man bench. You have a DH, obviously. You need a catcher. You need an outfielder. I don't know. I really, really think, how do they decide this? I think it's good to have 5 eligible outfielders, but they need a backup infielder, and having Beatty and Vientos as that depth, not something that I would kill for, but that's what they're basically going with as of right now. But they also have an optimal infield where all these guys are shortstops, and likely all of these guys could play multiple infield positions. We know Bo Bichette's going to be playing third base, but he's also played second base before. He's played shortstop before. We know that Jorge Polanco can play shortstop, wouldn't recommend it, could play second base, and now is playing first base. We know that Simeon can play both up the middle positions, but he's better suited at second base. So that's the type of optimal stuff that you are seeing of, actual athletes being able to play those positions, instead of, well, Jeff McNeil can do everything with his fucked up knees and his screwed up ankle and his elbow that he refuses to get surgery on. So it's little bit of a difference as to where it's a more optimal roster, like we said, but it all really just tells of, the matchups of, guys who could maybe be everyday players that are on your bench. I'm surprised they got Mike Tauchman on a minor league deal. I'm still surprised. I really am. Because this guy's been a slightly above average bat for the last 3 seasons. So it's not like he has been a complete bum and had, one great season. He's been a very productive hitter over these past few years. And I'm surprised. I really am. And I don't know when his opt-out comes in, but I think that they already have told him that maybe he's in the deep consideration, or he is likely going to make the opening day roster. Tony's saying, but I do think that Tauchman will make it. Again, I do think that they going 5 outfielders, especially with a center fielder like Robert, who we know has the injury concern. I think it makes sense to have 5 outfielders up here. But also there's another argument, and I was talking about this in our chat earlier. I would much rather just call up a third catcher in Hayden Sanger than have Vientos make this roster. That's how down I am right now
what about
on him.
MJ Melendez?
Melendez could be someone, maybe, but that's another outfielder. So, again,
a little bit of first base though.
Sure. Why not?
Because they could use a couple more guys that could play first.
He also played for Team Puerto Rico, so there's that.
Do that, yeah.
So that obviously brings him up a few points. Yeah, he was already optioned to AAA.
Yeah, he was optioned a while ago, but
yeah. No.
Nice depth to have though.
Nice depth, not bad. It's better than having the first guy
Jared
off the bus
Young,
from the Long
who's
Island
still
Ducks.
Making
hey! Did you know he almost took Mason Miller deep in the WBC? Do not disrespect Jared Young. That AB was amazing. He struck out, but everyone strikes out. But he had a good AB.
He almost took him deep.
And
then he struck out.
If he would have barreled up a ball, he would have homered.
If he would have hit it, he would have hit it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's Mason Miller, so you know what?
It's hard to hit baseballs.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem, I guess, is what would Mets fans hate more? Having Mike Tauchman play? Who would piss off Mets fans more playing in Colorado? Tauchman or Vientos? Because that's what's going to happen. If you were to DFA one, they're going to Colorado. So, and the fact that, yes, you do need to get him off this roster, but, are you willing to drop him for Vidal Brujan? That's, the other kind of game. Yes, I want him off this team. I want him sent to Colorado. I mean, honestly, looking back, would you have rather traded him over Acuna just for the versatility? That's a conversation. But again,
Acuna would have
because of his 2024 postseason that we need to hold on so deeply to our breastises and hug forever.
So, again,
people make me sick.
And hey, maybe you Tristan Jarium, where you put him out there, he has one hot month, and you find a stupid GM saying, "That's the guy I want. Give me a valuable player plus an asset, and then the Mets win everything because David Stearns is actually intelligent.
You know, it would be funny. What would be funny, and I don't think every single GM is smart enough for this. If we just DFA'd, Vientos and he just cleared through waivers, wouldn't that be funny? Like everybody would be looking at him and be like, "Yeah, we don't want him." A guy making league minimum. Could you imagine?
No, there's a dumb GM that would look at that 2024 and be like,
of course.
Cincinnati,
Yeah.
Cincinnati. I don't know why I'm taking a shot at Cincinnati because they have plenty of those guys.
It'll probably
but again,
be Colorado.
Colorado, Anaheim, because Nolan Shanuel sucks. Like there
White
are
Sox probably would.
the White Sox would take him for
yeah.
free. Yeah, because they're still up on the waiver wire. So yeah, like there'll be dumb teams again. Switch hitting.
The problem
Ronald
is,
Acuña.
why would you get rid of Beatty's best friend?
No,
That's
Alvarez
really
is,
hard to do.
Alvarez is Beatty's best friend. Vento's
No,
like second fiddle.
He's not.
He's in the triple.
Vientos
Ventos
and
in the
Beatty are the
triplets.
JD and Dom now.
No, he's
The
not
new
in
Cookie
triplets.
Club. The new Cookie Club together.
No,
You guys remember that?
Oh yes, of course.
of course.
Yeah.
I feel like infielder who has versatility, but also like a really good defender is something that this team could use. As if we were talking about like one extra
Yeah.
bench spot instead of Vientos, because like I said, I feel like Bichette at third is like yikes. So or even Blanco at first, like yikes. So I just feel you had just another like really solid, versatile infield defender. I think would also be nice to have too.
Exactly.
Artie Moreno thinks Vientos is
That's
pool
a
holes.
pool hole.
Probably. He might. It's possible. Very, very possible. Either way, we've already hinted through a few of these things, but let me just go through the rapid fire stories real quick. Joey Gerber, I don't even know. Christian Scott, Austin Warren, and MJ Melendez, as well as Ronnie Mauricio, optioned to AAA. They're all currently on the 40-man roster. We had plenty of other guys that were reassigned to minor league camp: Albert Alzolay, Nick Birdie, Kevin Herget, Robert Stock, Mike Bauman, Carl Edwards Jr. and his delicious hamburgers, Joe Jaquez, I don't even know, Ryan Lambert, Brandon Waddell, Kevin Parada, Jackson Clough, Greg Kessinger is actually hurt, Jacob Reimer, Jiwan Bay, AJ Ewing, Jose Ramos, Daniel Duarte, Huskar Brazaban will be on the opening day roster, as was said by Carlos Mendoza after a phenomenal WBC in the Dominican Republic. Regarding any injuries or anything, he will be on the opening day roster. It has been confirmed. Obviously, last year started off great, wasn't great, was basically driven into the ground. 3.57 earned run average doesn't tell the whole story. He was worked into oblivion. Francisco Alvarez, we already talked about it, exited yesterday's game in the fourth inning. Everyone held their breath. Turns out he only had back tightness. He's considered day-to-day. It was precautionary, said Carlos Mendoza, and he said that he would have remained in the game if it was a regular season game. Some minor league signings: Felix Cepeda, Edison Paulino were signed to minor league deals. Cepeda is 25 years old. He was assigned to AA Binghamton. Paulino is 23 years old. He was assigned to Low A Port St. Lucie. Jack Wenninger will begin 2026 in AAA Syracuse. He is the Mets' 7th overall ranked prospect via the MLB pipeline. Obviously had that big breakout year in AA Binghamton. Foley, 2.92 earned run average across 135.2 innings pitched. Will Watson, Jonathan Santucci, and Zach Thornton will begin their season with AA Binghamton. Santucci ranked number 10, Watson number 11, and Thornton number 15 on their pipeline ranks, and as well as some TV programming. Mets versus Yankees on May 15th, and Mets versus Braves on June 12th. To be broadcasted on Apple TV's Friday Night Baseball, as well as some other stuff. The Mets have partnered with Audacity and Sportsbug to deliver real-time radio play-by-play at Citi Field starting on 2026 opening day versus the Pirates. The broadcast will feature, of course, on WHSQ 880 AM radio, featuring Howie Rose, Keith Rad, and Pat McCarthy, in sync with full live action on the field. So that's good news, but we also got some bittersweet news as we all kind of saw this coming. Legendary Mets broadcaster Howie Rose has announced that he will be retiring following the 2026 season. He will be calling all 81 home games at Citi Field and the 3 games that will be in the Bronx. So just staying within New York. And of course, he has been calling New York Mets broadcasts on TV and radio since 1995. He was inducted into the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame in 2019 and also the Mets Hall of Fame in 2023. So here's the thing, proper send-off. We'll obviously see for Howie Rose. This will be his final year. We will see plenty of lasts for him. An incredible career. We know an excellent broadcaster, some legendary calls from him. Losing Sam Rosen for the Rangers and losing Howie Rose in like the span of 2 years. There's some connections with Rangers fans as well because he also announced the Rangers playoff games as well in the 90s before he took the job with the Mets. So obviously there's plenty of Mets fans who, when Mets games are going on at work, they're listening to it on the radio. They hear Howie Rose. So listen, we all knew it was coming. I think we all knew that at the point when he said he was only going to be broadcasting like half of the games this year, I think we all knew that it was coming towards an end. But a incredible career to a legend of Howie Rose, a legendary voice. But we get one more year. And, I think maybe could the Mets win it for him at the end there? The Rangers didn't do justice. They embarrassed themselves completely for Sam Rosen. So maybe do the exact opposite. That would be cool. Frank, Howie Rose, I think we all saw this coming, to be honest. I think it's, there was a lot of health issues recently. But we all know, no matter what, he's always sharp when he's calling Mets games because he's Howie Rose. That's who he is.
Hall of Famer. I mean, it will be weird eventually, like once you don't hear it anymore, like in the car, for example, going somewhere. Like he's just been with us for so long, for a lot of people their whole lifetimes, that it's just like you just kind of put them together. It's like Mets radio, Howie Rose. Like it's just like a automatic combo. So it's going to be different not having him, but like at least we still got one more. And overall, like definitely congratulations to a great career. So will the Mets give him a little reward on the way? I don't know. He did say though that like if the Mets didn't make the playoffs, he'd obviously do those games as well. It's not like a straight like 81 schedule. At least there's that too. In case if they do go, he will be there.
Yeah. Other stuff that we can get into. Freddie Peralta extension updates, not as good news as we wanted. It seems like he is seeking the 7 to 8 years. Mets are kind of more focused on that 4 to maybe 5, 6 years or whatever. So there's definitely some gaps to fill in that, and it seems unlikely that a extension will be reached. But he did say publicly, Peralta, that he is open to negotiating during season. So maybe it comes during a May game. Maybe that announcement comes during June. Who knows? But they did give up a decent amount to get him. So we'll see if they do, figure something out. We'll see, depending on, the incoming lockout as well, what the market looks like. We'll see what he is seeking. I think that at this point, I'm willing to, be lenient on it, even though, long-term deals for pitchers you got to be cautious with that, but we'll see where they go in that direction. Andrew, have you thought about a number about Freddie Peralta? Have you matched it to any market? Like, what do you think he's possibly asking? He's not a Boris client, but I mean, there's definitely going to be a little bit of a staring contest before this gets done, likely.
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't gone again as I always do, but going into the contracts to it. I think he probably wants 36 to above times 8, so whatever, or higher. Just call it 38 times 6 or times 8. It seems he wants that, so some nerd can do the math. Right now, I am not. I mean, I'd love to see it. I'm not saying I'm not. I would love to see a deal get done, yes, but I am always very scared. Well, not scared, but there's a certain quitter that is hitting the free agent market in the offseason. That, like, I hope that, obviously we said when Manaea is 25, Clay Holmes is 13 or whatever, and he'll opt out after this year. But, you still have Senga's deal is still in the books. So if you're throwing another big number in the rotation, it shouldn't, because, and we've seen what the Mets have done for top tier free agents, that it hasn't, and they have gone to that. But I would still be like, yes, I have a current ace, kind of like the joke of they rent in the Bronx and then buy it in Queens. I hope this is a rent of Freddie for a buy of Tarek or something like that. I wouldn't mind pairing them? Of course. Love to pair them together with McClain and have a super godzilla rotation. But, again, that's a shit ton of money for your rotation. So I am not as, I have to get the deal done. I think it's a fine thing. And we've seen what Frank has said with all the free agents. I kind of want to see him pitch in New York first, and I think he'll be fine. But I do want to see him have some success first, which you said, he's open. Maybe you see a first couple of months of good production. Then we can, and he's been willing to say he's going to sign in season, or maybe first negotiate in season. So I'd kind of like to see a couple of months in a different market that's not, boring-ass cheesehead Milwaukee, in this kind of hectic chaos that is New York, see a little success, and then be maybe a little more open to maybe giving term, which, again, similar to myself and Stearns, we don't like the term. I like to be able to be creative, and every offseason, like Stearns has been, it's like, oh, what kind of crazy, team can I make where I have a bunch of holes, but also have a lot of free agents. So, and I know Frank hates it, but I do like it, where it's fun, where it's like your team can go anywhere. And again, did anyone see Bo Bichette being a New York Met in the offseason? No. You can be creative and opportunistic. So, yes, I understand. Fans hate it, where it's like, oh, there's, who's Soto, going to play with? Soto's playing with a different team every year. Again, you have to be opportunistic. And when you have the budget of Cohen with the boy genius that is Stearns, you can be creative and opportunistic. And again, youth coming in the system, bringing it all back to spring breakout. You can get some internal filling holes, external filling holes, and then you don't have a Swiss cheese team. You have a full team, like a good old block of cheese. But again, we'll see where it goes.
And, of course, we got the food references that get slid in at the end there. Frank, you're obviously the big Freddie Peralta guy, of course. Listen, I would like to personally get it out of the way so they can have the clear shot of somebody like Skubal in free agency, even if they don't get him, be in that market. And it's kind of hard to do that when you're kind of just sitting here with two top guys on the market. You also have Jesus Luzardo, who just signed a extension with the Phillies as well. And I think we can all agree that Freddie Peralta is definitely on a higher level than a pitcher like Jesus Luzardo. So, again, we'll see where this market ends up. Like we said, he is willing to negotiate during the season. But, again, I really do think that right now you're setting yourself up to a point where, you have 1 year left of Freddie Peralta. You possibly lock him down, and then you have a free agency before a lockout. That's probably going to either go quick or go slow. Who knows? And I would love to have that sprint clear shot of Tarek Skubal, because I don't want to be a situation where Tarek Skubal signs in the offseason, we go into a lockout, and Freddie Peralta is still unsigned, and you didn't get an extension. Like, I want them to extend him at this point because, one, they gave up a decent amount for him, and also the fact that this rotation does need stability. And we all know that a lot of the guys who are main parts of it are going to be moving on eventually. We all know that Sean Manaea is not here long term. We all know that Kodai Senga is, not getting any younger, and he's got, another year on his deal. We know that David Peterson is going into free agency. We know that other guys, and they also want to give attention to the young guys, but take pressure off of those young guys to not be amazing aces. You'd want to have like a bona fide number 2 starter, such as Freddie Peralta, in a playoff rotation for a contender. It's something that I think I really do want them to consider. I think that the cap I would go at is 6 years. That's pretty much where I would go. 6 years. If there's a 7th year and you have, if there's options in there, I don't know. But he's looking to cash out, and I don't blame him, because he has been a very consistent piece in baseball for a while, and he has a lot of value to either a playoff rotation or just overall playoff teams. I mean, he really is a legitimate starting pitcher that you can plug in and use as all reliable.
Yeah, I think for the Mets too, though, like Andrew said, with them having such a new team in so many different aspects, I think the tryout period is also beneficial for them because, like, we had high expectations from last year, it didn't work out. So, I mean, there is just so many new pieces here that we don't know how it's going to go for this Mets team. Like, if it doesn't work out again, I don't know if I necessarily want to have another huge contract locked in when I feel like I have so many other things to do that can be problematic. But I think also an impending lockout, if salary cap and salary floors are one of the focal points, the Mets are going to be one of the biggest teams impacted by that. And if you have any aspirations of considering Skubal, there's no way you're getting him without doing something crazy to your team if you already committed to Freddie Peralta. So I think as much as I would love to, like you said, not have to worry about it, not have to talk about it, be like, oh, you gave him Sproul to Milwaukee, and, you know, oh, you don't want a rental, this always happens to the Mets, blah, blah, blah. Like, we don't want that, but at the same time, we do just have to be a little careful. I think the fact that he's willing to negotiate in season is a big deal because you can see how it goes for both sides. Like I always say, for the team, how it goes for the player. I mean, does either one of them want to be here long term? I think is something you could also figure out. What I will say about Freddie is that as much as like consistency is big, I always go back to the durability. And I think the making the 30 starts every year, I'm more okay with going long term on him than some other pitchers because he has been healthy so many years in a row that you feel like he could age a little better than some others. He's not as injury prone as other pitchers, that you feel a little more comfortable with that. But again, you have to see how the season goes, how the rules are going to work out, because it's like, where else are you going to move the money, so to speak? It's like if you have other guys under contract, whether it's Senga or Manaea, how else are you going to get rid of that to kind of meet those new rules and guidelines without impacting the future of your team? You don't want your draft picks messed up, because if you are living in a sport where cap is a big deal, your best bet is to have really good young players at low cost. So if your draft picks are getting messed up because you've overspent and things like that, it just makes it more difficult.
Yeah, that is very true, and we'll see what obviously the new CBA ends up being negotiated into, or maybe it never gets negotiated into, and baseball never exists ever again. But John Heyman actually did talk about this on a potential 2027 MLB lockout, and this is directly from his podcast, I believe. He said the biggest spending Dodgers and Mets teams are believed likely willing to go along with the call for the cap. And one source suggested that the lowest spending teams are actually enthusiastic in their support, even though they have to raise their player payroll significantly to get above any proposed floor. While it's way too early to know what ceiling and floor MLB will favor, some early estimates suggest the proposed ceiling might be around $280 million, negotiable, of course, meaning the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Yankees and others would have to work hard to get under the cap, though they'd be given years to do so. So it looks like they are going to get like a grandfathered in over the cap type of thing. Like they'll have it until it goes down, but they can't add to it, which again, I don't want a salary cap. I've already said it. It just basically enables cheap owners. A salary floor is what they need. That's what they need to keep the game balanced. But you know, it's a give and take.
To me, the biggest problem in baseball is deferred payments. That's really what it comes down to, because the Dodgers are like, oh sure, we can get under $280 million payroll.
Yeah.
But I think when it gets to like 2037 and their payroll already has a bunch of guys that don't play for them anymore, and then trying to add to that is where things are going to get interesting, because like you could defer until, I mean, they got to do something, whether it's like the amount of years you could defer or how much money you can defer. Like there has to be some kind of adjustments to it, because I mean, some of these contracts, like Ohtani, for example, it's really out of hand, where it's just like, it makes no sense. Like, you can't have a $700 million player making like $20 million. Like it makes no sense at all.
I mean, you could, instead of that luxury tax that you have where you're over the tax, there could be Obviously you have like the draft pick compensation thing as well, but you also can do like a deferral tax as well. Like it's like, if you have 50 million in, if you deferred 50 million in deferrals, like it's that plus something else plus like a 110%, like they were already talking about with the luxury tax. They could do something like that. But the problem is that the Dodgers, and then that's the main reason as to why the salary cap is an argument, which I don't think it's a good argument, but it's an argument to where the Dodgers can just be like, well, it's just money. Like, they don't give a shit. Why would they care? Like, they have billions of dollars coming in every single year. So why would they care?
Well,
so it's one of those
aprons
things,
like the way the NBA does, where
they could.
Oh, we cannot do anything. Like they would have. To, that's the only way you would get like actual change to happen. Because you know what, the NFL does fine. With their rules and things of that nature. Like they don't need crazy deferrals. They don't need salary floors. No. Like they don't have these issues of it's cheap and only the same.
Well, they also have like
potential
outs in those contracts, and they just cut them.
The NFL, they're not real, but I guess
So
my thing is there's 280 cap, which is bullshit to begin with. Like I said, most of the big spenders are going to be over that. So my thing is, and again, I'm always correlating to other sports with hockey. And the fact that, we have the cap, which is the most hard cap league out of any of the leagues. You can't go over the salary cap in hockey. Like the NFL doesn't have real money. The NBA has the stupid aprons that are stupid. Where hockey's the hard cap. Is that going to be this version? Or are we going to get the NBA version? And my thing is, you want to put a cap in. How much is this going up? Because like the NHL, we saw this when COVID hit. There was no raising of the cap. But now you're seeing after the season, you're seeing a drastic raising of the cap in the NHL.
And then players ask for more, too.
Yes, but my thing is, if you want this 280 cap, how fast is this going up? Or are we sticking to just, this is strictly 280? Because it needs to be, as money are going up, there needs to be a raising of the cap. And if you're saying, the Mets and the Dodgers and the teams that are over the first year have those years, but then so now you're going to limit those teams to not be able to add by playing this full cap. So again, you're going to take everybody out. We're taking everybody out of free agency.
Thing.
So that's my thing.
Yes, the deferral thing is a whole different thing. But if you're talking about the overall salary and you're talking about like the overall spending of money, the Dodgers aren't the problem. It's the other teams that won't spend and allow just all these other players to go over to the Dodgers. And that's the thing that I think that gets very frustrating to a point, and obviously it gets kind of like hidden behind this deferral thing because it's basically like, we're just deferring fake money. We're like, we'll just pay that off later and we'll just bring in a super team. Obviously, and we all know that they have built up an insane team. That's what they have. They continue to bring in guys. They just brought in the top guy on the market in Kyle Tucker. So it's one thing that's very, very noticeable. However, when you have other teams that are just willing to surrender and say, well, we can't compete with that. Who gives a shit? And we don't care. We're just going to pocket the money. Who cares if this team succeeds or not? There's plenty of owners that you can put into that fit that category. So it's just one of those things. It's like the Dodgers can be an issue in it, but they're also not the number one problem. Like, you can get mad at that, all of them getting all of these players. You can, 100%. Because, screw the Dodgers. Their fans, like they leave in the fourth inning, they get their selfies and they leave, right? It's not, it's air supply baseball, right? You can say all you want about that, but when it comes down to what's happening here is, yes, Kyle Tucker signed with the Dodgers. However, it did push them need for change, which again, I'm kind of happy that it happened because the bad stuff gets out of the way so the good stuff can come and they can improve on it. Even though we all knew that even way before Kyle Tucker signs with the Dodgers, we already knew that something needed to change. We already know that the MLBPA is not happy about how those last negotiations went. They kind of settled and they were like, okay, you know what? This isn't going anywhere. We're going to, hedge the agreement here, and we are going to have a baseball season. I don't think they're going to back down this time. I think that this is going to get very, very, very ugly. And to be honest, It has to. It really does have to, especially with the way that they said it last time. And we all know that it's been building for a long, long time. So we'll see where this goes. Obviously, we still have an entire year until it happens. We know that there's even controversy going on in the MLBPA. Tony Clark resigned for reasons that we won't even get into. Bruce Meyer, a litigator in the MLBPA, I think he's taking over as the intern, so maybe they have somebody else, eventually represent them long term. But for now, it looks like he's going to be running the head of the negotiations. But we'll see. Obviously, I don't know where that is obviously going to go and what it does affect. The Mets are definitely going to be a factor in this because they are well over the tax and they have a big spender. They have a owner that's willing to spend. But it goes both ways here. It really does. Again, you can be mad at the Dodgers. Be mad at the Dodgers. Absolutely. They get everyone. But there's other teams that are at fault here too that don't spend and allow it to go on as well. And allow the Dodgers to continue to get stronger. So there's plenty of factors. We'll see how it ends up, and we'll see how it factors into the signings that the Mets make or the signings that are made throughout the MLB. It's going to be interesting over this next calendar year. However, we've got a season of baseball to play first, and hopefully it's a balls to the wall season where the Mets win the World Series, and we can all just cross that off the bucket list and be like, hey, we're the last champions for 2 years because if we don't have it in 2027. But those are big dreams, and it all starts with a regular season that is going to start in less than 6 days. We are likely going to go live one more time before the season starts to preview opening day and everything. Hopefully with a special guest. I am hoping there was supposed to be a special guest today, but that just fell through at the last minute, so it's whatever. Hopefully we do have a special guest for that to, recap spring training and then also preview opening day. Either way, we're going to end it off here. Andrew, I'll go to you for any other last minute stuff. Even though we've had plenty of talking to do during the WBC streams, we've yapped a lot and filled a lot of dead air.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're going live one more time before the season starts, but again, enjoy it because this is the last season you're going to have. I mean, I'm even getting screwed at the minor league level because now the minor league players are part of the Players Association. So it wasn't even like, well, I got minor league baseball. Nope, they're going too. So again, and I despise the fucking Savannah Bananas, so you're not going to have baseball for a while. So enjoy it. Yeah, we got stuff coming. Obviously, once the season starts, you're going to be sick of us because we're going to literally be on live pretty much 95 hours a day. Dumb stuff's going to happen. We got announcements on, like I said, on Sunday.
We're going to do sleep streams.
We're going to do sleep streams. Yeah. We're going to do baking streams. We're going to do it all. I could spoil everything if I wanted to, but again, big announcements on Sunday. And we're going to have fun. We're going to expand it. We're like a big old cake right now, and this cake's going to get getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're going to be a 15-layer cake by the end of the season, and you're going to be sick of us. But you know what? That's the plan.
All right. Well, Frank, welcome back. Frank's not considered a special guest. He's the channel unk. That's what he is now. That's what he is. But welcome back. Glad you're feeling better as well.
Yes,
but excited for baseball. It's coming.
Yeah, I mean, listen, hopefully the Mets don't age me any more than they already have. That's always the goal of the season. And just trying to get the least amount of gray hairs as possible. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like we said, don't be dumb. I mean, that's the thing, too. I mean, that's like my biggest thing is like, I want to see this team not make all the mental mistakes we saw last year because that was just so frustrating. Show a little more fight. Maybe a comeback. How about that? Like, how about actually coming back from deficits, showing some fight? Like, that would be like the big changes that I want to see from this team because that was really like the deciding factor. It's like all those games that they were like close but not quite. Like, they all ended up mattering when it was all said and done.
Show dog.
Yes. A little more dog. That's really what it's about. Just give me some dog.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Show me that you want to be there. Show me that you're going to actually give a shit. That would be awesome. Yeah, short show tonight, definitely. As we are about approaching the 2 hour, 20 minute mark. So either way, we've talked plenty this week. We Of course, the WBC, thank you again, everybody, for all the support on that. Obviously, it was a blast to talk to you guys in the chat as well. Blast to have a panel here. Live commentary. It was awesome. Make sure to stay tuned. Again, like we said, special announcement, big announcement, Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time on this channel. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. If you guys want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, turn on post notifications, like we said, to not miss when we do go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X, follow us on TikTok, follow all of us individually. And finally, let's go Mets. Final week of spring training, the final stretch until opening day on the 26th. We will see you guys next time.